Su Yang's expression seemed a bit uneasy. He did indeed have his own secrets, some matters requiring discretion. Yet as Xiang Beifei asked the question, it amounted to probing his background in public. What was most troublesome was that Xiang Beifei had almost guessed his system type. But he quickly regained his composure and smiled, saying, "It's not that a system related to desolate beasts is required to deal with them. Just because you can handle a triangular thunderkite, I can't say your awakened system is specialized in desolate beasts, right? Many people, like Elder Luo and Yi Changfeng, could master the subject even if their systems weren't of the desolate beast type. Teaching the course on desolate beasts presented no problem." Xiang Beifei knew this as well, but he still said earnestly, "I'm a body cultivation practitioner. I killed the triangular thunderkite with brute force. What did you use to kill it, teacher? Your ability is far superior to mine. It's a teaching exemplar. If one can prevail with wisdom, there's surely no need for physical confrontation, right? Could you please explain it to us in detail? We're bound to benefit greatly in the future." His tone was very sincere. The classroom fell silent. With Xiang Beifei steering the conversation in this direction, it no longer seemed important how Xiang Beifei killed the triangular thunderkite. The focus was on how the teacher did it. Su Yang pondered for a moment and then said, "I relied on the spiritual power of the meridian opening phase to forcefully shatter the brain of the triangular thunderkite." "That's very impressive, teacher. Your spiritual power can shatter the kite's brain without destroying its scale armor. Today, you should dissect this triangular thunderkite for us, so later we can learn exactly how you damaged its brain," said Xiang Beifei. Su Yang replied, "The dissection will certainly take place, but that's next week's lesson. In this class, you need to learn various types of knowledge first, get a firm grasp on the basics to better understand." "Understood. Then I have no further questions." Xiang Beifei did not press any further with aggressive questioning, appropriately heading back to his seat. After all, the other party was a university teacher in the meridian opening phase. Such matters had to be delicately handled. Pushing too hard would be inappropriate. He didn't necessarily want the classmates to know what Su Yang's system was. After all, whatever Su Yang's system was, it didn't have much to do with them, and new students could hardly interfere with Su Yang completing his system tasks. Xiang Beifei did this purely to make Su Yang lose his footing, waiting to see if he would reveal any flaw. Seeing Xiang Beifei not continue with his questions, Su Yang let out a small sigh of relief. "That's good. I thought he discovered something." Su Yang wiped the sweat from his brow, thinking, "But this kid's questions are surprisingly incisive. Someone who can score first place in the college entrance exam with raw points is indeed not simple. Looks like I'll have to find a way to actually shatter the brain of this triangular thunderkite, or else during next week's dissection lesson, I might not be able to hide it, and he might come up with some strange questions again." He steadied his nerves, stored the huge corpse of the triangular thunderkite, and then began the actual lesson. After class, Xiang Beifei watched as Su Yang left the classroom, and then he stood up. He needed to ask Elder Luo what the deal was with this teacher Su Yang, to make sure he hadn't been sent originally to spy on him. In the hallway, many students were watching Xiang Beifei. All along the way, the newcomers were whispering about him, and it seemed even the returning students were observing him. Many students now knew he was a practitioner of body cultivation. They dared not confront him directly, but knowing this made some consider side schemes. No one dared to trouble him outright, but that didn't mean they couldn't use a N-level newcomer like him for their system tasks. "Hello. My name is Du Feihong, a second-year student. I was very impressed by your performance the other day, and I haven't had the chance to properly get to know you." A tall boy approached Xiang Beifei, introducing himself with an open manner. "Hello." Xiang Beifei glanced at the other's system. "Host, Du Feihong. S-Class, Flattery System, Realm, Late Qi Mastery, System Introduction. Being flattered by others or flattering them can make you stronger. After you have flattered someone's certain ability, you can transfer that ability to yourself, but you need to pat them for it to work. How much you can transfer depends on the difference between systems. You can only transfer from the same target once a month, and only 3 abilities can be transferred at one time. Looking over this flattery system, if it had to be categorized, he felt it was more like a bootlicker system, and moreover, a bootlicker capable of stealing others' abilities. Du Feihong patted Xiang Beifei on the shoulder. I'm very fond of various outstanding talents. Your strength and speed are the most powerful among all the newcomers I've seen, without exception. I truly envy your impressive physical conditions. You're practically my idol for study. You have flattered Xiang Beifei's strength, transferring 12 points of strength to yourself. Current strength 268. You have flattered Xiang Beifei's speed, transferring 15 points of speed to yourself. Current speed 367. You have flattered Xiang Beifei's overall physical condition, transferring 16 points of overall physical quality to yourself. Current overall physical quality 8336. Once overall physical quality reaches 10,000 points, task reward available. Strength Talisman X1, Speed Talisman X1, Escape Talisman X1. After slapping Xiang Beifei on the shoulder, Du Feihong quickly retracted his hand and laughed. Sorry. I'm just a rather enthusiastic person. As a senior, I always want to take care of my juniors. You really have great skills. I admire that. Xiang Beifei nodded thoughtfully. So that's how it is. Then you are indeed enthusiastic. Ha ha ha. Yes, that's right. We're all studying at Liangzhou University together. I'm not like those other people. I've always admired the strong and would never mock anyone. If you need anything, just come to me. My name is Du Feihong, a sophomore, and I live in the building next to you. I'll definitely help you out, Du Feihong said with a hearty laugh. All right, I'll remember that. Thanks, senior. I have to go now, we can chat another time. Xiang Beifei nodded. Sure, no problem. Go on with your business. Watching Xiang Beifei leave, the smile on Du Feihong's face grew even wider. Haha, as expected, he's an N-level simpleton with strength but no brains. I stole his abilities and he's still thanking me. Du Feihong thought to himself, quite pleased. His flattery transfer system usually only dared to target those with lower system levels or lower realms than himself, otherwise it would hardly take effect. Xiang Beifei was unbeatable at the chi controlling stage, but no matter how unbeatable he was still just an N-level body cultivation practitioner. Body cultivators only have stronger brute force than us awakeners, but their weaknesses are very clear, especially since the system he's awakened to is terrible. N-level systems are at the very bottom of this world, almost always the ones being exploited. In the past, when Du Feihong flattered others, he always had to be very careful. If they were also S-level, he wouldn't dare to steal too much at once, or he might easily be discovered. But with an N-level, it's different. Body cultivator Xiang Beifei, who only has a strong body, and whose N-level system was completely overpowered by his S-level awakener, could be robbed by him without restraint. He could steal as much as he wanted, and the other party would not notice at all. This Xiang Beifei is simply the perfect target for my flattery. It seems I need to be good friends with him. Relying on him during my chi controlling stage, I'll probably reach the meridian opening stage faster than anyone else. Although he could only steal once a month, Xiang Beifei, being a body cultivator with strong physical qualities, provided him with more power than others, almost twice as much. With such a body cultivator, if he were to maintain a good relationship and then clasp shoulders with him once a month, not being too excessive, just 2 short seconds would suffice. He could definitely rob the other party blind. I found a money tree, Feeling he had found the road to wealth, Du Feihong usually enjoyed flattering others for a good reason. When he flattered others, he became stronger. I think with his pace, it should take about 10 more days to complete the mission. When he's close to SR, you can go take the delivery, Xiang Beifei said to Xiaohei on his shoulder. He knew that no one at the chi controlling stage would think of challenging him one-on-one, but as an N-level awakener with a pathetic system, even an R-level could suppress him. Therefore, many people would definitely try to sneakily complete missions on him, especially many like Du Feihong whose systems could steal others' abilities. An ordinary N-level awakener certainly wouldn't notice, only to be deceived by the enthusiastic Du Feihong without any clue. Tough luck. Du Feihong had met a hard nut to crack. Woof woof. Xiaohei squinted, wagging his tail to signify no problem. When the system reward goes missing, Du Feihong would indeed start to doubt, but he would never suspect someone of N-level body cultivation. If there were an SR level nearby at that time, then the trouble would arise. If someone was capable of stealing an S-level Awakener system reward, what kind of system would they have? Sir. Xiang Beifei wouldn't even need to lead him on. Du Feihong would definitely conclude that someone at SR did it. After all, Liangzhou University isn't lacking in SR geniuses at all. Counting all grades including postgraduate students staying on for advanced studies, there are about 70 SR geniuses, not to mention the teachers. If someone's system is a bit more peculiar and steals an S-level system reward, it's entirely plausible. Having made a habit of stealing from lower-level Awakeners, it was quite normal for someone like Du Feihong to have his system reward taken by an SR level. Even if he was angry, he could only hold it in. There are many Awakeners like Du Feihong. Xiang Beifei knew that some people, even if they didn't dare to openly pick a fight, would definitely dare to take on system tasks with him as their target, just like Du Feihong did secretly. So he had no reason to be polite. Bring one on, take care of one. Xiang Beifei got rid of the onlookers and quickly found Elder Luo by the lakeside. Elder Luo was lying in a chair, counting the white clouds in the sky. When he saw Xiang Beifei, he handed him a handful of sunflower seeds. Class is over? Yeah. Xiang Beifei took the sunflower seeds. How does it feel to be surrounded by spectators? Elder Luo chuckled. It doesn't matter. They're not going to touch me, Xiang Beifei said. The system rewards from these chi-controlling stage students could no longer satisfy Xiang Beifei. What he needed was to first step into the Meridian opening stage and then look for system items at that level. It's not that simple. The freshmen and sophomores wouldn't dare to provoke you, but there are a lot of elites in the school. Those about to be juniors and seniors, and the postgraduate students staying for research are all eager to take you on. It's only the first day of the semester. Don't think you're in the clear, Elder Luo said meaningfully. No worries. Xiang Beifei cracked sunflower seeds, thinking that encounters with students at the Meridian opening stage were like warming gifts to him. Thinking it over, he asked, Elder Luo, what's the deal with this Su Yang, Mr. Su? Su Yang? Do we have a teacher like that at our school? Elder Luo asked casually. Our desolate beast cognition and anatomy teacher is called Su Yang, Xiang Beifei said. Elder Luo thought for a moment and said, there are so many teachers at our school, over 1,000. I can't remember them all. I seem to recall that there's more than one teacher just for the desolate beast cognition and anatomy course, several dozen in fact. This year, Liangzhou University enrolled over 5,000 students. Almost half of them were freshmen from the martial arts college, divided into 25 classes. With 4 grades combined, there are roughly 100 classes. The martial arts college didn't have specific majors. Besides the 4 required courses, there were also over 100 system-related electives, each with many instructors working together to teach these students. Desolate Beast Cognition and Anatomy was a required course all martial arts students had to take. It would be impossible for just one teacher to instruct all those classes. Doing so would make them overexhausted. Considering this, the number of recruited teachers was quite substantial. With so many teachers, the school was bound to have a mixed bunch. Plus, Elder Luo had already retired, and teacher recruitment was not his responsibility, so it happened that he did not know this Su Yang. Xiang Beifei figured it out. No wonder Lu Jiwei had never heard of a Su Yang teacher at Liangzhou University. Even Elder Luo couldn't remember all names, let alone her. Possibly Su Yang had never taught Lu Jiwei, and at the time, she wouldn't have thought that a high school student's assailant could be a university professor. So she hadn't checked in that direction either. But why, out of so many classes, did Su Yang happen to teach his? Can you help me check? Xiang Beifei knew Elder Luo was no ordinary security guard and likely held a high position in the school. Checking on a teacher should be easy. Why are you interested in him? Elder Luo asked. Xiang Beifei pondered for a moment. He had no proof that Su Yang had attacked him, as he couldn't just say that he could see other people's system interfaces. Even if he told Elder Luo he recognized Su Yang's appearance, in this system world, doubting someone based on their appearance was unreliable. Many systems could disguise a person, and Elder Luo might then wonder if he was mistaken. While Elder Luo held a certain position within the school, it wouldn't be wise to directly report a teacher to him. He planned to see if he could collect some evidence on his own first. If he found any, he would directly ask for Elder Luo's help, and Elder Luo would certainly deal with this Su Yang. He has some unique insights, and I think this teacher is quite special. I want to understand more about him. What did he do before? Has he always been a teacher for Desolate Beast classes? Xiang Beifei asked. Teachers usually have publicly registered resumes. These records aren't secret and include their past educational experiences. Actually, you can even find it on the official university website, Elder Luo said. Elder Luo, fiddling with an oversized smartphone with a large display, finally logged into the educational system. He pulled up the teacher's information and said, "Are you talking about this Su Yang?" Su Yang, 37 years old, S-Class Awakener, completed credits at Liangzhou University in 2014, continued studies for 2 more years, worked as a pioneer after graduation, joined Wufu Desolate Beast Research Company in 2019 to engage in Desolate Beast-related scientific research, and was hired as a teacher at Liangzhou University in 2027. Proficient in Desolate Beast knowledge. Currently serves as the Desolate Beast Cognition and Anatomy teacher. Very simple information, these materials are not secrets, just the resume used by the school to hire teachers. An entirely normal record. What is Wufu Desolate Beast Research Company? Xiang Beifei asked. Martial arts students don't necessarily have to become pioneers after graduation. They can work in various industries. You should understand, the world we live in is unique. Beyond our territory lies the external wastelands, surrounded by countless desolate beasts. Such a small place, with a population of over 1 billion, faces a significant energy problem. Not everyone's system can sustain themselves, so naturally, some people need to venture into the external wastelands to hunt desolate beasts and extract energy from their abilities. Wufu Desolate Beast Research Company is one of those desolate beast energy companies. Elder Luo explained succinctly. Xiang Beifei nodded slightly. Judging from this information alone, Su Yang didn't seem to have big issues. He appeared to be a normal individual. He had been a university teacher at Liangzhou University for 3 years, and hadn't just arrived this year. So why did he use a strange hound to test his strength after he awakened his system? Was it because he was Xiang Tianqing's son? Then, did he meet his father while working as a pioneer? What are you thinking about? Elder Luo asked. Nothing, I just found it puzzling. Right, Elder Luo? Can all teachers at the school be trusted? Xiang Beifei asked. Of course. Teachers at Liangzhou University are 1 in 100. How could they teach the elite without solid professional skills? I mean in terms of character, Xiang Beifei said. Elder Luo turned his head puzzledly and looked at Xiang Beifei, asking, Are you still thinking about Yuqishin? Xiang Beifei paused, then said, Sort of. This time, he wasn't thinking about Yuqishin. At least Yuqishin wore his dislike for Xiang Beifei openly on his face, without any disguises. But with Su Yang even knowing his system, one couldn't be sure of his intentions. Elder Luo said, Yuqishin, although unpleasant to look at, is trustworthy. He has been teaching at the school for over a decade. I know what kind of person he is, and the school's teachers are all trustworthy. Xiang Beifei said, What Mr. Yuqi did last time isn't something that can be explained with trust. Elder Luo was stunned for a moment, chuckled and said, The admission assessment was indeed wrong on his part. I've beaten him up for you last time and warned him. He won't lay a hand on you now. He hadn't gone easy on Yuqishin that time. But I still need to attend his class, right? He teaches external wasteland simulation. And with so many teachers for that course, isn't it just my luck to be assigned to his class? Xiang Beifei asked. The elective courses for the first week hadn't been finalized, and schedules weren't produced yet. The classes today were arranged temporarily, and Xiang Beifei wasn't even clear about who his teachers were. There were many teachers for the same course, but Xiang Beifei had a hunch that his external wasteland simulation class had already been assigned. Mysteriously, Elder Luo said, Not exactly. I sneaked a look yesterday, and you were indeed assigned under him, but I forcefully shifted you to Changfeng's class for the external wasteland simulation. You don't need to worry about that. Ha! Xiang Beifei was quite surprised. After the incident last time, I knew Yuqishin definitely wouldn't treat you fairly. I can't let him bother you again. I have to look out for you, right? Elder Luo winked at Xiang Beifei. Xiang Beifei felt much better. Being a hanger-on for a big shot had its perks. Thank you, Elder Luo. No big deal, Elder Luo said casually, cracking sunflower seeds contentedly. Yi Changfeng also taught external wasteland simulation, and his skills were not inferior. Following Yi Changfeng would definitely be better than following Yuqishin. All right, since I've sorted that for you, you need to do me a favor now, Elder Luo added. Sure, anything, Xiang Beifei said. You've heard about the student clubs, right? Elder Luo asked. Yes. Every freshman dormitory was stuffed with various flyers, all about student clubs recruiting new members. Xiang Beifei had seen a few but wasn't interested in clubs. You must join the Leisure Clouds and Wild Cranes Club, Elder Luo chuckled. Xiang Beifei asked, What kind of club is that? Is it mandatory to join? Elder Luo nodded and explained. You shouldn't think that student clubs are just minor affairs. The school requires teachers with over 10 years of teaching experience to be in charge of a club. The orientation of martial arts colleges' student clubs is based on pioneers and defenders, meaning that anyone who enters the university must receive training related to pioneers and defenders, even if they don't pursue that path in the future. Elite universities set high standards to train martial arts students, naturally aiming to let students take up the future defense of the Jojo Alliance. Every moment, beast tides attack the borders of the Jojo Alliance. While small-scale beast tides can be repelled, there's concern over large-scale tides breaking through the defenses. At such times, the university's students would unquestionably stand up to resist the desolate beasts. Therefore, the strength of the students was cultivated through regular club activities, and the most effective way to cultivate them was various competitions. Clubs compete with each other. Instructors are responsible for training students, developing them, enhancing their strength, and students must also strive to bring points to their club, which has a points ranking. This points ranking is tied to the teacher's evaluations and rewards. Of course, it is also very important for students to earn points because these points are needed for your graduation assessments and can also be used as a kind of campus currency for trading resources between teachers and students, explained Elder Luo in detail. Yi Changfeng is the instructor responsible for the Leisure Clouds and Wild Cranes Club, but his club students underperformed last semester, ranking 99th out of over 100 clubs, Elder Luo explained. At this point, even he couldn't help but laugh. This ranking was really terrible. Anyway, when I forcefully transferred you to his class from Yuqishin yesterday, he insisted that you must join Leisure Clouds and Wild Cranes. Elder Luo shrugged. You see, that guy likes to take advantage when others are down. Xiang Beifei, stroking his chin, puzzledly said, The name of this club doesn't quite seem like Mr. Ye's style. It sounds more like Leisure Clouds and Wild Cranes sounds exactly like a style belonging to a bigwig of leisure. Haha, you noticed? I originally ran this club, but after I retired, and since Yi Changfeng was becoming a teacher at that time, I handed it over to him. However, he was away from school for a whole year last academic year due to some matters and only returned this July. Consequently, their ranking dropped from 15th before he left to 99th, and all kinds of evaluations and promotions had nothing to do with him, Elder Luo continued. What was he doing last year? Xiang Beifei asked. The Jojo Alliance needed an academic advisor, so he took that role for a year and only returned this year, said Elder Luo. Yuqishin and him were of comparable strength, but Yuqi's club was strong and produced excellent students, earning him a promotion to associate professor last academic year. Because Yi Changfeng was in charge of a weak club and wasn't at the school last year, he got stuck in the lecturer stage. This semester, he's determined to rethink the club. The first thing he did was to ask me to have you join his club. In universities, instructors have titles, generally divided into teaching assistants, lecturers, associate professors, and professors. At the martial arts college, promotions are linked to the strength of the student clubs. Yuqishin's club is very strong, so he is now at the associate professor level. Yi Changfeng was just a bit unlucky. The club you started. He was away. Why didn't you help out with it? Xiang Beifei asked. I don't have the time. I'm very busy every day. Elder Luo stretched lazily. Xiang Beifei looked at Elder Luo's system interface. His activities today. You closed your eyes to rest for half an hour. Leisure value +10. Good gracious. Is this what you are busy with every day? But on reflection, Elder Luo was retired and usually just needed to stroll around and watch birds, so there was no need to push him too hard. Besides, the matter of titles was ultimately Yi Changfeng's own issue. It would be unfair to other instructors if Elder Luo intervened. All right then. After much thought, Xiang Beifei agreed. Although he wasn't very afraid of Yuqishin, it was still not a wise move to openly compete for system rewards with Yuqi before reaching the Meridian opening stage and being able to see Yuqi's system tasks. Following Yi Changfeng seemed a good choice. Once he reached the Meridian opening stage, Xiang Beifei would be able to see Yuqishin's system information, and then he could really go all out. For now, Xiang Beifei set aside the matter regarding Su Yang, uncertain of Su's intentions toward him. He could only be sure that Su's previous visit was to probe and not to harm him, otherwise, he would not have escaped so easily that night. As a teacher at Liangzhou University, Su Yang would likely not dare to openly target him again. Still, it was always good to be a bit cautious and see if Su would reveal any flaws in the future. In the afternoon, a large crowd of students gathered at the cultural corridor of Liangzhou University. Various students were calling out as they recruited new members. The first week schedule was relatively light, also considering the freshmen, giving them some time to familiarize themselves with the campus. Xiang Beifei walked along the road, observing various student clubs with mostly chic names such as Moving Mountains, Great Unity, 8 Desolations, Unrivaled in the 4 Seas. He saw a plaquette nearby listing the club rankings from the previous semester. With a total of 100 clubs, Cold Sha topped the list. He was clueless about clubs and was also unaware of the rules. But soon he spotted the sign for Leisure Clouds and Wild Cranes. Yi Changfeng was sitting behind a desk and also saw Xiang Beifei, waving him over. Xiang Beifei walked over and politely greeted. Mr. Yi, come with me. It's too crowded here, inconvenient. Yi Changfeng waved his hand, directly pulling Xiang Beifei. Xiang Beifei only felt the surrounding stall, as if squeezed into a space, and when he reappeared, he was already in Yi Changfeng's office. It was a very neat office, simple and elegant. However, for some reason, behind these elegant decorations, there seemed to be hidden sharp sword auras, stern and deadly, as if from every corner numerous swords could suddenly fly out. As an awakener of the supremacy of 10,000 sword system, one must not underestimate him. Yi Changfeng raised his glasses and smiled. Has Elder Luo told you? Yes, he said I must join this club. Then you agreed? I'll listen to him. Good. Yi Changfeng started to smile and said, You probably understand the situation. The students cultivated in my club were not strong enough. They did not meet the points requirement, and I didn't get promoted to associate professor. It's very helpless. Today is the day our club is recruiting anew, and you are the first one. Where are the other members of the club? I dissolved the club and then reorganized it. Apart from 3 Meridian opening stage advanced students who stayed, there are no others. I need to establish 2 new small teams. No matter what, we have to properly cultivate you. Yi Changfeng was very straightforward. What teams? Xiang Beifei asked. Every student in the martial arts college clubs is trained according to the scale of pioneer teams, in preparation for combating desolate beasts. But you should know what qualifications a pioneer team needs, Yi Changfeng said. Each pioneer team generally consists of at least 5 people. One is the captain, who needs the ability to command and control the overall situation, must be well-versed in the extraterritorial wilderness and the knowledge of desolate beasts. One awakener with healing ability or other logistic capabilities. One with scouting-type abilities, responsible for alerting and monitoring movements around and tracking desolate beasts. one with a range-type defense ability to help protect everyone, and another, with special operational capabilities, in charge of covering the team's retreat or advancement. I know, my abilities don't fit in a team, Xiang Beifei said. He had no system, definitely incapable of healing. His scouting abilities were not a match for dedicated system awakeners like Lu Hong, and his defensive capabilities relative to other systems were ineffective against desolate beasts. That's just theory, but theory is static, people are dynamic. A real pioneer team, sometimes abilities are overlapping, like some captains have the ability to command the entire situation and are also the scouting-type system awakeners, sometimes the defense-type system awakeners, even also take on the role of trailblazing. The situation in the extraterritorial wilderness changes in the blink of an eye, needing adaptability rather than rigid methods. Some pioneer teams are not just 5 people. Sometimes they're even more than 10 people, each having their own strengths. Even if they do not possess those 5 abilities, they can still excel in the extraterritorial wilderness. Yi Changfeng looked at Xiang Beifei and said, I originally thought you were just a body cultivator, but it was Elder Luo who made me realize that you're not that simple. You have a strong adaptability to the outer desolate lands. No one has ever killed as many desolate beasts on their first journey there as you did. Even though Yi Changfeng considered the triangular thunder kite a weak desolate beast, it was still very powerful for most new students. Xiang Beifei was simply lost in thought. Thinking Xiang Beifei might be having second thoughts, Yi Changfeng quickly said, You've already made a promise to Elder Luo, and as I am Elder Luo's apprentice, we are kind of like brothers in some sense. There was a time when I was the main force of the club, but now that I've become a teacher, it's your turn to step up as the main force. This is a sort of legacy. After a pause, he added, Not to mention, your father was also part of this club back in the day. You can't just watch as the club falls into decline, can you? Think of this as helping me with a small favor. The conditions are up to you. I won't hide the fact that I really need the title of associate professor. Yi Changfeng was almost begging Xiang Beifei for the sake of the club. It was strange to think about it, but when Yi Changfeng first entered the university, he visited Xiang Beifei's home. At the time, he wondered if Xiang Beifei would ask for his help with enrollment issues, but Xiang Beifei did not. Now, the roles were reversed, and it was he who needed Xiang Beifei's help. What about the teams you plan to form for the club? Helping Yi Changfeng wasn't a problem for Xiang Beifei. Elder Luo had also stressed the importance of student points to him. The points he earned belonged not only to himself but also added to the club's tally. So joining wasn't a big deal after all. I plan to form 2 teams, a reserve team and a combat team with powers at the Qi controlling and meridian opening stages respectively. The number of members in each team will depend on the circumstances, explained Yi Changfeng. So, I would be in the reserve team? No, you'll be in the combat team, Yi Changfeng stated calmly. The reserve team can usually only train in simulation classes and duel at the Liangzhou University Combat Arena. The combat team, on the other hand, needs to train in the real outer desolate lands. The simulation classes are absolutely useless to you. You need real outdoor training. You do realize I'm only at the Qi controlling stage, right? Xiang Beifei asked. Do you want me to be honest? Yi Changfeng gave Xiang Beifei a meaningful look and said, Many of the high-ranking leaders at the school believe it was a mistake to admit you. Because of you, 2 SSR freshmen refused to come here this year, and they are quite critical of you. But I know you're not that simple. Xiang Beifei raised an eyebrow. Elder Luo has faith in you, and that's enough for me. He is never wrong about these things. If Elder Luo believes in you, I believe in you too, said Yi Changfeng. Xiang Beifei didn't know what to say. Yi Changfeng was one of Elder Luo's former students and knew his father. There wasn't much more for him to add. You'll need to take on missions to earn points for the club. I was away at the Zhuzhou Alliance acting as a consultant and didn't come back for a whole year, which resulted in the club falling apart with members dropping out. We need to regroup and revitalize, Yi Changfeng revealed. Where do the club's missions come from? Asked Xiang Beifei. Many teachers release missions. For example, the anatomy class teachers may need certain desolate beasts as teaching models, or the Black Tech Research Department might need venom from a desolate beast or fur, teeth. Of course, if a student needs a certain desolate beast for a system mission, they can also post it. Anyone from the school can release a mission. Why do I feel like joining a club seems so troublesome? Xiang Beifei muttered. Seeing that Xiang Beifei was not very enthusiastic, Yi Changfeng hurriedly continued. The reserve team can only participate in sparring against other clubs to earn points. However, the combat team can face various life and death situations. Besides earning money and points, you can also convert points into academic credits more quickly. By combat, you can improve your cultivation and strength faster, accumulating experience for future employment. After all, a lot of it depends on your school experience when you're applying for jobs. Money. Xiang Beifei's eyes suddenly lit up. Okay, no problem. Yi Changfeng breathed a sigh of relief when Xiang Beifei agreed, thinking that his line about improving cultivation and strength must have swayed him. The promise of self-improvement had quickly secured the young man's agreement. Young men indeed have spirited ambition. Yi Changfeng added, currently, our club has 3 Meridian opening stage members. They are continuing education students. I'll also need to recruit from the continuing education class. As for picking the reserve team members, that will be from the new students, and I'll contact you later. Continuing education students were those who had met graduation criteria but were not satisfied with their strength and wanted to continue their studies. There were quite a few of these students. Okay, Xiang Beifei simply replied. Every evening in the combat arena, there are sparring matches between clubs, either one-on-one or group battles. Starting today, you will participate in several bouts each night to build up our club's points, instructed Yi Changfeng. Do I really have to participate in these fights? Xiang Beifei asked. Rubbing his forehead, Yi Changfeng replied, students wishing to venture into the outer desolate lands have to meet one assessment criterion, which is their score in the combat arena. You're currently not allowed to go to the outer desolate lands. Win 50 matches first. You need 100 points to meet this criterion. It should be easy for you. Just participate in 3 or 4 matches a night. No one at the Qi controlling stage is a match for you. The Leisure Clouds and Wild Cranes Club's ranking is so dismal it's unbearable to watch. You'll help us climb a bit. Xiang Beifei thought for a moment and said, all right then. Having 3 or 4 bouts a day wasn't really a big problem. Yi Changfeng let out a relieved smile and said, I know these past couple of days a lot of people have been watching you, and it might be hard for you even to get a little privacy. This sword is for you, the Ronin sword. Channel your spiritual power into it, and it will make you blend into the crowd like a wandering swordsman, nameless and unrecognized. So basically no student can tell who you are. Xiang Beifei's eyes lit up once more. He really needed this sword. Yi Changfeng was an SR-level awakener, with cultivation above the Meridian opening stage, and his Ronin sword certainly had the capacity to suppress all students. With this sword, he wouldn't have to worry about being watched, and moving around campus would be much more convenient. Thank you. Xiang Beifei wasn't the type to put on airs, and naturally accepted the valuable offering. He glanced again at Yi Changfeng's system and suddenly wondered, could this supremacy of 10,000 sword system provide tens of thousands of divine swords? Each sword possessing a unique ability, such as Ganjiang, Yuchang, Shenyuan? That would be incredibly powerful. It was a pity he still couldn't see the introduction to Yi Changfeng's system, which was somewhat regrettable. He tossed the Ronin sword to Xiaohei, who caught it and trampled over it, then lifted its head pridefully, indicating the sword was no problem. When Xiang Beifei left Yi Changfeng's office, he channeled spiritual power into the Ronin sword, and indeed, the students passing by automatically ignored him, seemingly unable to recognize him. That saved him a lot of trouble. He planned to visit the Liangzhou University combat arena that evening to quickly rack up 100 points, which shouldn't be too difficult. The combat arena of Liangzhou University was vast, as it was the place where student clubs sparred and competed. Many students would come to watch the matches in the evening to learn from others' experience. Of course, there were tickets for the matches, and winners received prize money earned from those tickets. The students gained insight, understanding of competitors, lessons from defeat, and winners got both money and points. Xiang Beifei paid the 50 yuan entrance fee, thinking that such expenses were steep for an elite university, but a Qi controlling stage student could earn 500 yuan for a win, along with 2 points, which was quite a bargain. Although it was only the first day of school, the arena was already bustling with people. Many clubs had recruited newcomers in the afternoon. Although most needed training, most of the participants in the competitions were older students. The combat arena was divided into the Meridian Opening Arena and the Qi Controlling Arena, but most of those in the Meridian Opening stage had already graduated. Those who stayed for further study would usually go to outside wastelands to practice, so competitions at the Meridian Opening stage were rare, with only the Qi Controlling stage being available in the evening. Xiang Beifei reached the registration desk, where a male student named Du Liang, who possessed an R-level evaluation system, worked. He derived his tasks from assessing others' qualifications and seemed to be working here specifically for that purpose. "Hi, I'm here to compete," said Xiang Beifei. "In the name of an individual or a club?" "A club." Xiang Beifei handed the Leisure Clouds and Wild Cranes club badge to the evaluator, who efficiently arranged it on the computer, then frowned slightly and looked up to ask, "Not registered yet?" "That's right," Xiang Beifei replied. "Do you want to use your real name or a pseudonym?" "You can use a pseudonym? For the competitions, some people's abilities are tied to their systems. If you think revealing your ability will expose your system and affect future system tasks, you can use a pseudonym. If you don't have this concern, then use your real name," explained Du Liang. "Then I'll use a pseudonym," Xiang Beifei said. "What name will you use?" "Ronan. This nickname is already taken." Xiang Beifei thought for a moment and said, "Xiaohei. This nickname is already taken." Xiaohei lifted its head. It bared its teeth and made a gesture. "Woof, woof, woof." Xiang Beifei thought of over a dozen names, and all of them were already taken. It seemed like many students at Liangzhou University were accustomed to using aliases to participate in competitions, and over the years, countless names had been chosen. "Is finding a name really that hard?" Xiang Beifei couldn't help but complain. "This nickname is already in use." "Xiang Beifei, someone's already using this? Idle Fish sent me to patrol the mountain." Xiang Beifei, recommended by Elder Luo, the big shot from the Leisure Fish sect, simply decided to use this name. "This nickname is available." Du Liang entered Xiang Beifei's name into the badge, and Xiang Beifei paid 100 yuan registration fee. Changing a name costs 50 points, so change it carefully. You can challenge the current holder or you can spar randomly. Which do you choose? Which earns points faster? Of course, challenging the current holder earns points faster. If you dethrone one, you get a point, and for every match you hold your position, you get another point. Successfully defend for 5 matches in one evening, or if no one challenges you within an hour, you'll get an additional 20 points. However, whether defending or challenging, if you lose, 10 points will be deducted. If you lose a random spar, only 1 point is deducted. By defeating the holder of a position and then defending it for 5 matches, you would earn 26 points. In other words, after 6 matches, if you won all 6, you'd get 26 points, while for random spars, to get 26 points, you would need to fight 13 matches. Earning points through challenges is quicker, but it's also easy to lose points. The risks and opportunities coexist, and only those confident in their abilities dare to hold positions for others to challenge. Random spars are more standard. Win and gain 2 points, lose and it's 1 point, just slower paced. "I'll challenge then." Xiang Beifei figured this way he would gain points faster. Du Liang looked at Xiang Beifei with suspicion, but he didn't recognize him because he had used Ronin's sword, making him unrecognizable. New registrants can only challenge, not hold positions. Newbies are protected for a week, so if they lose, their points won't go negative. Points can go negative? Of course. Last semester, your Leisure Clouds and Wild Cranes Club's points were negative 256. Du Liang said. "That's pretty dire." Xiang Beifei couldn't help but mutter. It was no wonder Yi Chongfeng had made a determined effort to reorganize the student club, even pulling him in to make a show of strength. If they didn't bring in a few strong fighters to win points, there was little hope of filling the gap. Go inside and pick any spot. When it's your turn, your name will be called and the badge will remind you. Oh, and only those with over 20 points can hold a position. You're at 0, so you can only challenge others. There's no one holding a position tonight, so for now, you can't know who your opponent will be, Du Liang said. Let's do a random spar first then, and let me know when someone holds a position, Xiang Beifei said. Okay. All the rules of the combat arena are in the badge. You can check them there. Despite his suspicions, Du Liang didn't think too much of it and returned the badge to Xiang Beifei. Thank you. Xiang Beifei walked into the combat arena, which resembled the simulated training grounds from the initial school assessment, surrounded by a variety of spectators. The arena had about 10 big platforms. There, participants could only spar on the platform, and stepping off meant defeat. Some Awakeners had abilities to drag people into spaces created by their systems, but these platforms were special, showing even those dragged into system spaces still on the platform. The crowd gradually grew larger, making the whole place boisterous, with roughly 700 or 800 student spectators, some still awaiting entry while the competition had already begun. Many competitors wore masks or used the system to protect their identities. No club names were displayed here, meaning even if you won a match and earned points for yourself and your club, the opponents wouldn't know which club you were from. The points badge automatically recorded the score, updating the club points leaderboard once a month, not daily, to prevent people from guessing your club based on daily fights and to maximize privacy protection. However, masked or not made no real difference to Xiang Beifei, because he could just look at the opponent's system. Xiang Beifei was looking around the spectator stands, observing other people's systems, and boredly passing the time. But soon, he suddenly spotted a familiar face. Long Guoqing. This guy had actually come too, and he was flaunting himself. He didn't even bother to hide his identity, using his real name and showing his true face. Actually, it was normal. As an Awakener of the SR-level spotlight system, he needed others to pay attention to him to enhance his own, so naturally, there was no need to hide himself. Platform 1, Long Guoqing versus the Taste of All Right. When the host shouted this name, the whole place boiled over. It's the new student Long Guoqing. My God, it's really him. So handsome. He's at the SR level, he should be in the mid-stage of chi controlling by now, right? Don't look at him as just mid-stage chi controlling. Those in the later stages of chi controlling are no match for him. I wonder what abilities the Taste of All Right has. The spectators swooned. The debaters debated. Everyone was so excited about Long Guoqing. The genius. To think they would see him participating in the competition on the very first day of school. No wonder Awakeners with SR systems level up so fast. Xiang Beifei finally understood why Long Guoqing had chosen martial arts over being a pop star. In the martial arts college, every night he came here to fight, those swooning over him watched him, and those who viewed him as a potential rival watched him too. A solid 5 seconds of attention. Even if each person could only add 15 attention points per day, the total amount of attention value he collected in one evening was significant. This spotlight system was simply made for such a person. The Taste of All Right was a later-stage chi-controlling student named Shi Ruo, who had awakened the S-level Tastily Fresh system. Upon learning that his opponent was Long Guoqing, he immediately despaired. Why did I have to encounter an SR on my first go? Shi Ruo cursed his luck. His system relied on sense to bewilder opponents, which meant he could emit a variety of smells. Charming, poisonous, foul, and laughing gases. All sorts of biochemical weapons were his means of attack. All he could do now was brace himself and go forward. He didn't know what abilities this SR freshman might have, so he planned to strike first. However, Long Guoqing on the stage proudly looked at his opponent and merely glared a bit. Thump, thump, thump. The Taste of All Right simply couldn't bear the terrible vision pressure and was forced to retreat by the stare alone, failing to deploy his abilities, and then fell off the platform. No chance to fight back. So strong. I remember the Taste of All Right from last year. He's a sophomore, right? Should be late-stage chi controlling. Yet he couldn't last 2 seconds against SR Long Guoqing, who's supposed to be mid-stage chi controlling. Done in 2 seconds, that was quick. Fast. Too fast. SR Long Guoqing is really strong. Many people exclaimed aloud. Long Guoqing, looking at the taste of all right, he had easily knocked down, coldly snorted with pride. Small fry. Long Guoqing's confidence was gradually restored. Just now, he had directly used system points to enhance the power of vision pressure, knocking down an opponent a realm higher than himself with ease. He himself was an SR-level genius, so even if he might not be able to beat a mid-stage body cultivation practitioner, dealing with someone in late-stage chi controlling was quite easy. He checked his system interface where the attention value was rapidly increasing. The taste of alright looked at you for 5 seconds. Attention value plus 5. Someone looked at you for 5 seconds. Attention value plus 5. Someone looked at you for 5 seconds. Attention value plus 5. If he didn't know the person's name, the system merely displayed someone. Standing on the platform for 20 seconds, he had already accrued nearly 10,000 attention points. This is it. I need to keep getting stronger. Long Guoqing was very satisfied. The more attention value he had, the stronger his own power became. He planned to participate in more competitions because other students, having heard about tonight, were likely to come as spectators. Long Guoqing left arrogantly. Xiang Beifei didn't care much about Long Guoqing. He had been watching these competitions all along. The fighting arena here provided the most direct view of all students' system abilities. Although Xiang Beifei was aware of his opponent's system introduction, he had no idea what these abilities looked like in action, and the fighting arena was clearly the place to show one's skills. Weapons like machetes and darts were no longer novel. However, the awakeners with illusion techniques were quite eye-opening. For instance, one who had awakened the S-level illusion god system used an illusion technique. He simply stood there while his opponent swung a punch in the opposite direction and eventually fell off the platform. Quick and clean. In the arena, 10 platforms all had students competing against each other. There were also some teachers watching from a distance. Each evening, 10 teachers were on duty in the arena, acting as referees for the platforms. With their expertise, they didn't need to sit next to the platforms. Xiang Beifei wore a mask. It was his turn in 3 matches. His opponent was just a mid-stage chi-controlling R-level awakener. He couldn't be bothered to pay attention to what system the opponent had, and simply defeated him outright. Such a level of combat seemed almost like bullying to him. Currently, Xiang Beifei's score was 6. At that moment, another voice rang out in the arena. The first champion of the evening has been born. Nickname: Wild Wind Tiger. Last semester, he challenged 10 platforms and successfully defended 8. Everyone, come challenge him. As soon as the announcer spoke, the arena erupted in various cheers, for only those with very high strength dared to set up a challenge like this. Setting a challenge could earn points quickly, but if one was defeated, even losing a single match meant losing 10 points. In other words, if one couldn't hold their ground for 5 matches, they would definitely lose points. I don't know which club this Wild Wind Tiger is from, but I've heard he's very powerful. His earned points probably amount to no less than 500. That's right. His abilities are too freakish. I've seen 3 of his matches, and he used different abilities in each one. With such strength, he must be a member of one of the top 10 clubs. Their members are all very formidable. He's in the late Chi Mastery realm, right? He should be an S-level awakener. Some say his system ability might be close to SR level. It's rumored he's already at the peak of late Chi Mastery, and just a step away from the Meridian opening period. Many people were discussing the Wild Wind Tiger, and it was quite obvious that this person had made a lasting impression. Last term, whether in random sparring or setting challenges, his victories were exceedingly high. Random sparring actually depended more on luck, because the strength among students was so uneven. Sometimes, chi-controlling beginners would accidentally face late-stage chi-controlling students, which was essentially just handing out points, so beginners rarely participated in such fights. However, many late Chi Mastery students would choose random sparring, because their chances of winning were higher. Facing early and mid-stage chi-controlling opponents was a complete dominance, and only when facing late-stage peers did they become more cautious. But someone like Wild Wind Tiger, who was confident in their strength, preferred setting up challenges. The first challenger, Idle Fish, sent me to patrol the mountain. With the first challenger stepping forward, many people grew excited to see who this Idle Fish sent me to patrol the mountain really was. I wonder if this person can conquer the challenge? It's very tough. Wild Wind Tiger is incredibly strong. No one knew who Idle Fish sent me to patrol the mountain was, nor if they were a newbie or a veteran, because too many people across the academy participated in such fights, with quirky and strange names all around. Nameless veterans who went on stage were basically a flash in the pan, soon forgotten after they were seen. Only those who were truly powerful were remembered. Xiang Beifei stepped onto the third stage, looking at his opponent, Wild Wind Tiger. Host: Suja. S-level, card drawing system. Realm: Late Chi Mastery. Card drawing system introduction. Can randomly draw an ability from a specific aspect and use it as one's own. Defeating an opponent in any aspect grants 1,500 card points. Current draw selection. Superpower. Spending 1,000 card points. Random drawing in progress. You have drawn the superpower. Flower Burst. Effective duration: 1 hour. This person's system was quite mysterious because it allowed him not only to draw superpowers but also other talents, such as weapon-related cards which might yield a dagger, a spear, a cannon, a tank, and so on. Suja had chosen to draw a superpower, which included abilities like fire control, wood control, charm. His superpowers were not unique. They were randomly generated by the system's cards. At the moment, Suja spent 1,000 points to draw Flower Burst, a fairly decent superpower. Of course, if he was not satisfied with this superpower, he could draw another one, although it would consume more card points. Currently, he only had 60,000 card points. Drawing a superpower cost 1,000, so whether to draw a second one depended on the subsequent situation. You've got courage to challenge my arena. I don't think I've heard your name before. Suja looked at Xiang Beifei. I changed it, the previous one didn't sound good. Xiang Beifei was already becoming familiar with the rules of combat. Impulsive. Suja wasn't surprised. Many students chose to spend points to change their names to protect their privacy. Some powerful individuals had already accumulated enough points to graduate, a sum of over 1,000, so spending 100 didn't matter. Even he was planning to change his name next time, because more and more students were studying his matches. Once his abilities were fully analyzed, continuing to set challenges would be disadvantageous. A new name would obscure his identity, preventing others from targeting him and discouraging them from casually taking the stage. Suja smiled faintly. If I were you, I'd save those points. After all, if you fail in the challenge, you'll lose 10 points. Xiang Beifei just shrugged and didn't say anything. The duel begins, announced the voice of the arena. Whoosh! Suja's figure flashed, and suddenly the arena was filled with a sky full of flower petals. These petals scattered in the air, floating in different directions towards Xiang Beifei, seemingly flimsy and powerless. Yet each petal contained powerful spiritual power, ready to burst forth with lethal force at any moment. Xiang Beifei watched his opponent attentively, without making a move. Spiritual power vibrated outwards, merging into the petals that had encircled him, and the ability Heavy as Mount Tai instantly took effect upon the petals. What? Suja's face suddenly changed, for he discovered that the petals he controlled had inexplicably become incredibly heavy and were out of his control. Before he could react, the petals swiftly crashed down on him from the air. Crash! Suja was directly crushed by the heavy petals onto the stage, screaming in agony. Xiang Beifei swept out a wave of spiritual power, sweeping him right off the stage. The Heavy as Mount Tai ability controlled by Xiang Beifei was currently nowhere near the level of an actual Mount Tai, but could only switch within a range of 100 pounds. The greater the weight applied, the more spiritual power it consumed. Yet he didn't put forth his full strength. Merely adding about a pound to a single petal would suffice. Being at the same stage of late Chi mastery, Suja stood no chance against him. Boring. Xiang Beifei sighed lightly. The chi-controlling phase arena posed no threat to him at all. He won no matter how he fought. Yet, exclamations erupted from below the stage. Wild Wind Tiger has been defeated. This idle fish sent me to patrol the mountain is amazing. To think he defeated Wild Wind Tiger just like that. I don't seem to recall having heard this name before. Is he a new student? Not necessarily, some people change their names for privacy. He could be one of the experts from the previous batch. There are plenty capable of defeating Wild Wind Tiger. It's a pity for Wild Wind Tiger, he should have changed his name. But his abilities have been completely seen through, so it's not surprising that he was defeated. Last semester, Wild Wind Tiger was defeated by 2 peers of SR rank. But now those 2 SR are in the Meridian opening phase, and they would not appear here again. But a new student could be possible. That Xiang Beifei seems very impressive. Defeating Wild Wind Tiger wouldn't be surprising. That's impossible. The new student practices body cultivation, which requires close combat brawling. But this idle fish sent me to patrol the mountain hasn't moved at all. The victory came from a system ability. It could be an illusion technique. That's right, Wild Wind Tiger is S rank. To defeat him in one strike, the person must either be an S rank veteran or must be SR level. That means this could possibly be one of this year's 14 new SR rank Awakener students. Many speculated about the identity of idle fish sent me to patrol the mountain. For anyone who could easily defeat Wild Wind Tiger was definitely a master. However, since the scores of each contestant wouldn't be displayed, there was no way to determine if this person was a new student or a veteran. So, this idle fish sent me to patrol the mountain must either be a veteran or one of the 14 SR rank new students. Idle fish sent me to patrol the mountain has successfully challenged the arena, thus becoming the new champion, ready to accept challenges from others. Long Guoqing sat in the audience, watching Idle Fish sent me to patrol the mountain on the stage with a proud expression. 10 minutes had passed, and no one dared to challenge carelessly anymore, because Wild Wind Tiger was defeated too quickly, leaving everyone uncertain. Is it a veteran? Or a new student SR like myself? He pondered as he listened to the discussions around him. Long Guoqing had witnessed the exchange between the two on stage, and possessing the ability Vision Pressure meant his vision was also remarkably sharp. Idle Fish sent me to patrol the mountain was powerful, relying on some systemic ability, not body cultivation. He definitely wasn't Xiang Beifei. That made things easier. Humph! Long Guoqing had a fear of the abnormal body cultivator Xiang Beifei, understanding he was no match for him currently, but with his intense innate talent at SR level, as long as he didn't encounter Xiang Beifei, he could easily crush any other S-rank Awakeners in the late Chi Mastery stage. Since it was not his feared Xiang Beifei, what was there to fear? Just now, as he made his several appearances, the arena lit up with cheers, and he harvested a vast amount of attention value. Most importantly, news had spread that Long Guoqing would make an appearance at the fighting arena tonight, and countless people had already rushed over to watch. This wave of attention value hasn't even been collected yet. Since you managed to defeat the widely renowned Wild Wind Tiger of the last tournament, I'll use you as my whetstone. Long Guoqing looked at Idle Fish sent me to patrol the mountain on the stage, a hint of confidence curling at the corners of his mouth, then stood up, ready to sign up for the challenge. He was determined to regain the confidence he had lost to Xiang Beifei, right here on Idle Fish sent me to patrol the mountain. Xiang Beifei had been standing on the stage for 20 minutes now, and no one had come to challenge him. He even felt tired of standing and found a spot to sit down. Challenging the current champion was risky because if you failed, it would cost you 10 points, a loss not worth the gain. Therefore, many preferred to participate in random sparring sessions unless they were sure of their chances. After all, no one really knew who this Idle Fish sent me to patrol the mountain was. He could be a high-level expert who had changed their name, and people wanted others to test him out first, then gauge their own strength accordingly. And just as everyone was watching and waiting, the voice of the arena's announcer rang out again. New challenger, Long Guoqing, defender. Idle Fish sent me to patrol the mountain. The moment this announcement was made, the entire arena erupted. It was Long Guoqing. Again, Long Guoqing. He was taking up the challenge. The new SR-ranked awakener Long Guoqing, strikingly handsome and immensely strong, is challenging the arena on the very first day of school. But he has the strength to back it up. SR-ranked awakeners are basically at the mid-stage of Qi controlling now. With their high talents, they are almost invincible in the Qi controlling stage. True. I heard that even the new student Xiang Beifei might not be a match for Long Guoqing. Long Guoqing walked onto the stage with his head held high and his chest puffed out. His agile figure stood aloof and noble, and each appearance carried with it an air of an imperious CEO, constantly making him the center of attention. Upon hearing the announcement, Xiang Beifei was also slightly startled. Him again, Xiang Beifei muttered to himself. All he wanted was to earn some points for Yi Chongfeng's club, and out of the blue, Long Guoqing appeared. Truth be told, with so many people around that evening, Xiang Beifei might not have encountered Long Guoqing if he had randomly sparred. But as a defender, others could choose whether or not to challenge him, and Long Guoqing had come directly to the challenge. Long Guoqing stepped onto the stage and looked at Xiang Beifei with haughty eyes. "Are you going down on your own, or shall I send you?" Long Guoqing asked arrogantly. Just as arrogant as ever. But that was to be expected. As an SR-ranked awakener, Long Guoqing did indeed possess the strength to make such a statement in the eyes of others. Xiang Beifei thought for a moment and decided not to use vision pressure against Long Guoqing, opting instead to overpower him with sheer strength. "Come on," Xiang Beifei said simply. With the protection of the Ronin sword, even if the gaze was familiar, Long Guoqing wouldn't be able to recognize him. Long Guoqing probably wouldn't expect that he was facing the same opponent again. "You have guts, but you are overestimating yourself," Long Guoqing sneered. Long Guoqing knew that the idle fish sent me to patrol the mountain in front of him was definitely not the SR ranked from the last time. At most, he was a new or returning student. To him, defeating such a person was a matter of a mere glance. Vision pressure. Although Long Guoqing was somewhat contemptuous, he did not hold back against idle fish sent me to patrol the mountain. Anyone who could defeat the wild wind tiger was certainly not a mediocre fighter. Thus, as soon as he stepped forward, he unleashed a strong vision pressure, and a fierce and domineering aura burst forth from his body, striking Xiang Beifei like a thunderbolt. Whoosh! Xiang Beifei paid no heed to Long Guoqing's vision pressure. A sword appeared in his hand and he sped towards Long Guoqing. A sword cultivator? Long Guoqing noted that his opponent had withstood his vision pressure, which wasn't surprising, since the effectiveness of vision pressure depended on the defense of the opponent. With the strength at the latter stage of Qi controlling, it was normal to withstand vision pressure. But he sneered, standing firm against the incoming Xiang Beifei, as his combat prowess at close quarters was formidable. He had specialized in training over the summer and was not weakened at all by ordinary late-stage Qi controllers. "Get off the stage now!" Long Guoqing's body erupted with intense light, multicolored and dazzling brilliance, which was one of his mastered abilities. In the moment of action, he could transform into a stunning ray of light, rendering his form invisible to his opponent, while moving freely within the light to crush his adversary. As Long Guoqing made his move, many closed their eyes because the light was too dazzling. Those who didn't possess the strength of meridian opening could not bear such blinding light, let alone defend against him. SRs are indeed powerful. You can't see anything. How can you even fight? People couldn't help but marvel. Long Guoqing was too brilliant, glowing so brightly that one could not look directly at him. Long Guoqing also snorted coldly. He could shine, but his own vision would never be obscured by these lights. This kid must have been blinded by my brilliance, right? Long Guoqing readied himself to deliver a fatal blow to the oncoming Xiang Beifei, but at that moment, he suddenly felt something was amiss. It seemed as if a gust of wind brightened behind him, followed by a bang, as he felt a piercing pain in his back, and then he was sent flying through the air. The light faded quickly, and some people were still closing their eyes, squinting slightly, and murmured, Did Dragon Country's Long Guoqing beat that idle fish? Do you even need to ask? Who is Long Guoqing? He's an SR. But just as they finished speaking, suddenly everyone was stunned, because on the ground was not idle fish sent me to patrol the mountain, but this SR-ranked top talent, Long Guoqing. I actually lost. Long Guoqing was shocked too. It was one thing to lose to an N-rank body cultivator since body cultivators were known to be invincible during the chi controlling stages. That was normal. But his opponent wasn't that N-rank Xiang Beifei. Idle fish sent me to patrol the mountain was a sword cultivator. How could a sword cultivator defeat him? You actually ignored my dazzling brilliance. Long Guoqing looked at idle fish sent me to patrol the mountain incredulously. He didn't understand how someone could be unaffected by his shining ability that was enough to blind anyone's titanium golden eyes. Xiang Beifei pondered for a moment and said seriously, "The way of swordsmanship is to listen in all directions, to turn the body into a sword, and to guide the sword with the heart. To kill is to rely on sword intent, not on eyes. Where the heart is, there the sword will be. I defeated you with the back of my sword, already showing mercy." His words carried an otherworldly temperament, aloof and serene, as if they came from a nameless swordsman who had stepped into the realm of perfection, elegant and graceful. Well, he was bluffing. Xiang Beifei wasn't even a sword cultivator. But that didn't stop him from using a sword. To grasp the hilt is to hack. If one's cultivation is high enough, whoever they chop will be unlucky. Is sword intent really needed? However, his speech, full of lofty sentiments, left Long Guoqing stunned. This turned out to be a hidden, powerful sword cultivator. Does Liangzhou University actually have such a sword cultivator? Long Guoqing was truly astonished in his heart. Where the heart is, there the sword will be. One sword to break all spells. Is this what a strong swordsman is like? Long Guoqing's dazzling brilliance was extremely powerful, capable of making people lose their vision. But the opponent's sword didn't rely on sight, but on the heart. To control the sword with the heart. So impressive. Long Guoqing stared fixedly at the swordsman before him. I've learned my lesson, but remember, I won't accept defeat so easily. I'll get back at you sooner or later. Though high and mighty, Long Guoqing only had eyes for the true strong ones. He looked down on Xiang Beifei because the latter was just an N-rank body cultivator with the advantage of the chi-controlling phase, but the future of body cultivation had its limits. In a year, he firmly believed he could grind Xiang Beifei into the ground. But the swordsman before him was a genuine sword cultivator. To defeat him, this sword cultivator's system talent awakening must be at least S-ranked, perhaps even SR-ranked. His future achievements will be far beyond those of Xiang Beifei. This swordsman's realm had already reached the point of controlling the sword with the heart. He looked down on Xiang Beifei, but in his heart, he didn't scorn this swordsman. He realized that another opponent would be added to his own list. Long Guoqing's face showed reluctance, but he did not linger, as the crowd beneath the stage seemed to be discussing him heatedly. He turned and left the fighting arena without looking back, leaving behind a bewildered audience. When Xiang Beifei defeated the SR-ranked Long Guoqing, everyone was immediately buzzing with excitement. He's a sword cultivator. Who among us has such exquisite swordsmanship? I remember Dugu Qiuxing uses a sword. Swordsman without a smile is also a very powerful sword cultivator. And there's Shimin Shaoxue. There really were quite a few people who used swords in Liangzhou University. This world was originally one that revered the martial path, and sword cultivator system awakeners were a powerful branch, mostly comprising attackers with immense strength. The most famous sword cultivator in the entire school was Yi Changfeng, and people like Shimin Shaoxue, swordsman without a smile, had also given themselves nicknames and performed quite spectacularly in the fighting arena. By this time, everyone had automatically treated idle fish sent me to patrol the mountain as a sword cultivator, each guessing his true identity. Just now, everyone failed to see how this person used his sword because everyone's attention was drawn to Long Guoqing, making it unclear how this person made his move. Logically speaking, it doesn't make sense. Those sword cultivators, I remember, were all in the late stages of chi controlling, and their strength last semester wasn't this strong, to the point where even the sword god couldn't outshine the wild wind tiger. Could it be that this person is also a freshman? Right, among the 14 SRs this year, couldn't there be one who just awakened as a sword cultivator? That would explain it. No wonder Long Guoqing lost. I think he was careless and was defeated by a fellow SR sword cultivator. Opinions were diverse, with no consensus. Only Xiang Beifei sat on the platform, bored and yawning listlessly. No one else came. After SR Long Guoqing was defeated, other people dared not step up to the platform before the situation became clear. He checked the time. At last, an hour had passed. Arena Master. Idle Fish sent me to patrol the mountain. Successfully defended the arena for 1 hour, earned defense points. The announcer's voice rang out. Xiang Beifei stretched languidly, then turned to leave. There were rules in the combat arena. One could only earn a maximum of 30 points a day. Xiang Beifei actually gained 32 points today, but only 30 would be counted. Even so, that was plenty. By tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, he should be able to earn the 100 points he needed. By the lakeside of Liangzhou University, the water shimmered, reflecting the moonlight which danced on the surface of the lake. Long Guoqing stood by the lake, discontented, gazing at the bright moon with a forlorn expression on his face.
No.
Long Guoqing howled into the sky, his spiritual power pouring out. The formidable power of his vision pressure compressed the air in front of him. Even the droplets in the air were suppressed by his vision pressure, eventually turning into a shower of ice crystal snowflakes. The snowflakes drifted down, landing on his shoulders. The wind blew the hem of his clothes, making a whooshing sound, giving him a somewhat desolate appearance. I actually lost. Losing to Xiang Beifei, a body cultivator, was bad enough, but to be defeated by another sword cultivator. As an SR, Long Guoqing felt he had suffered an unprecedented blow. It was only his second day at Liangzhou University. For 2 consecutive days, he had been defeated by 2 different people. Moreover, he was beaten with just 1 strike each time without any chance to fight back. He was completely crushed. Liangzhou University, known as one of the 9 elite institutions, was so full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Couldn't even he, an SR, take advantage there? Long Guoqing was indignant. Too indignant. Xiang Beifei and Idle Fish sent me to patrol the mountain. Both of you wait for me. I will defeat you both in the future. Long Guoqing clenched his fists, his teeth gritted with determination. A body cultivator. A sword cultivator. He had already regarded these 2 as rivals he had to surpass, vowing to strive with all his might to defeat them. Xiang Beifei returned to his dormitory. It was past 10 o'clock in the evening. He practiced his spiritual power, then went to bed. Long Guoqing came back very late. When he returned, everyone in the dormitory was asleep. He looked unwillingly at Xiang Beifei's bed but dared not do more and soon prepared and went to bed. In the following days, Long Guoqing always left early alone, not acting with his roommates. Xiang Beifei couldn't be bothered with him. As long as he didn't bother him, they could all get along. He trained every day without slacking. There were only 4 courses in the first week, leaving plenty of free time. However, he found that university courses were much more profound and obscure than high school ones. Even with learn by analogy, serious study was needed, as the teacher's experiences were far beyond what the textbooks had to offer. System ability analysis and processing was taught by an S-level teacher named Lin Zhengchu, an awakener with the insightful as if seeing fire system, boasting mid-stage meridian opening strength. In Xiang Beifei's view, his system ability was similar to Uncle Lu's investigation system, but Uncle Lu's system leaned more towards observing physical traces at a scene, while Lin Zhengchu's was inclined towards behavioral analysis. System ability analysis and processing, a mandatory course, was about how to deal with various types of systems so that one would not unwittingly become the target of someone else's system quests and be none the wiser. In other words, This required course taught students to guess another person's system from their demeanor and body language, to determine whether they came with genuine feelings or deceitful intentions, and whether they had intentions related to system tasks, and whether it was worth associating with them. After taking the class System Ability Analysis and Processing, distrust sprouted among all the students in the class, and they even began to cast suspicious glances at friends they had known for just a couple of days. 2 students even argued in front of everyone during class, because one suspected that his companion had been following him around solely to use him to complete a task. "I knew there was a reason you've been so nice to me these past few days. You must have awakened this sweet talk system," a fair-skinned boy accused. "What nonsense are you spouting? Then, with your daily use of such high-quality skincare products, may I assume you've awakened the human demon system?" The accused boy also appeared furious and embarrassed. But the truth was that only Xiang Beifei could see both of their systems. One had the Wisdom Star system, and the other the Keyboard Warrior system. They were simply roommates who had met a few days prior, without any ulterior motive to use each other for completing system tasks. Being vigilant is good, but you can't confirm your suspicions with just a few words. You haven't fully grasped the essence of this class yet. Don't be hasty in making judgments. Lin Zhengchu stopped the 2 students who were turning against each other and continued. "You must understand that in a genius school there are all sorts of powerful systems. Some are specifically for making people cry, others for making people laugh. A casual chat might just be someone on a task, or even a wink or wave might be them targeting you as part of their mission. So when interacting with others, you must learn to discern right from wrong. Systems are confidential, and no one can know another's system. High school courses emphasize never to share one's system with others. But this college course teaches how to guess others' systems." Xiang Beifei felt that teacher Lin Zhengchu was right, just like the senior Du Feihong who came to him the day before yesterday. To an outsider, he seemed like a senior deeply concerned with the welfare of freshmen, respectful and helpful. But in reality, he was just after Xiang Beifei's power. Then there are awakeners like Ho Qingguo and Lu Qianrou, whose systems are predatory by nature. If one cannot discern right from wrong, a mere touch from these people could spell disaster. It's only Xiang Beifei, an anomaly in the system world, who could especially deal with those harboring malicious intentions. Why do I feel System Ability Analysis and Processing is more like a class on creating discord? It essentially teaches how to doubt friends. What do you think, Xiang Beifei? At the end of class, Li Zimu muttered his assessment of the course. With his penetrating writing ability, he knew how to judge a person based on their writing, and he saw that the 2 arguing in class didn't actually have any ulterior motives for becoming friends. "That's not entirely true. I think the class is pretty good and quite practical," Xiang Beifei calmly replied. Li Zimu nodded slightly. "Indeed, it is a practical course. Many people didn't like this course. After taking it, it seemed they couldn't trust even acquaintances anymore. Yet, most people took the course seriously, eager to learn even just the basics because mastering it could help them judge the type of one's system by their behavior and habits, thus determining if that person had any ill intentions. Although from childhood everyone is taught to keep their awakened system a secret, in college you must learn to guess other system types, as the college needs to teach these elite students how to better survive in the system world. This especially applies to students of the martial arts college, who often like to solve problems with fists rather than brains. If they don't understand how to analyze other system types, they are the easiest to be manipulated as puppets for completing system tasks. Simply put, it's like a psychology course in the field of system studies, judging a person's system type based on various micro-expressions, body language, and physical actions. Of course, unless it's students like Yuqishin's both Sharp Lu Jiwei and Guohan who were sent to protect Xiang Beifei, or awakeners like Lu Jiwei who reveal their system types upon taking action, making guessing unnecessary. This course targets awakeners like Long Guoqing and Meng Yuekai, whose systems don't manifest clearly, to recognize those systems properly to avoid being taken advantage of. Very few can truly master the essence of this course. Perhaps across the entire world, no one can truly claim they possess such an ability. Not even Lin Zhengchu, who is awakened with the S-rank insightful as if seeing fire. Perhaps only Xiang Beifei could. In fact, Xiang Beifei doesn't really need to take this course because he can see everyone's systems, what their motives are when approaching him, and what tasks their systems have. He could understand clearly. However, since this was a required course, even if it were useless to him, he had to attend. When the first session ended, Lin Zhengchu assigned homework. A video featuring a sneaky man talking to an elderly person and holding health products. Teacher Lin Zhengchu asked the students to use the newly learned content to analyze the system type of the criminal in the video and to write an 800-word analytical essay due next week. Xiang Beifei looked at the criminal in the video with a bemused expression, because in the video he directly saw what the system was. The criminal, who had awakened an R-level artful persuasion system, was deceiving an elderly man whose mind wasn't clear into spending all his savings on useless health products and various chaotic medicines. The elderly man, clearly an N-level, couldn't compete with the R-level salesperson and took out all his life savings to buy a bunch of useless things. Suddenly, Xiang Beifei thought that moving to the urban village with his grandfather after his parents' accident was indeed a wise choice. They had originally lived in the same community as Kong Shouwen, but Xiang Qingda still decided to move, fearing situations like the one in the video. The elderly and the young, if targeted by unscrupulous salespeople using the system to swindle all the alliance's compensation money, would end up even worse. Xiang Beifei couldn't help but praise his grandfather's wisdom. Forget it. I'll just write that the man in the video awakened a sales system. Xiang Beifei didn't need to score too high in the system analysis and processing class. The third mandatory course was Overview of Liangzhou Alliance Defense. Just from the name of this course, it sounded quite dull. At least it was definitely about how the Liangzhou Alliance's borders prevent desolate beasts from the external wilds. However, this course was taught by an SR-level teacher named Guo Zhenghong, who had awakened a system called Counterattack System. What specific abilities this system had, Xiang Beifei was not sure yet because Guo Zhenghong's cultivation was clearly at least at the god-refining stage, maybe even higher. But from the name Counterattack System, one could roughly understand the problem. It probably was some kind of powerful defensive system. Before the class began, Elder Luo had mentioned that Professor Guo Zhenghong, besides being a professor at Liangzhou University for the Liangzhou Alliance Defense Course, also served as the command chief of Liangzhou's defense frontline. That is to say, he was a frontline guardian. Professor Guo was very strict about this course, spoke with a loud and commanding voice, his face stern and stable, emitting a formidable presence as if there was a fierce beast lurking in his heart. As soon as he started speaking, all the students realized this professor was not to be trifled with. You are all students of elite universities. The Liangzhou Alliance has provided you with various favorable educational policies, extra points on your college entrance exams to help you get into elite universities, painstakingly training you, not for you to play around. You carry the heavy responsibility of guarding the Alliance's safety. So, in this class, I want you all to be alert. As martial artists, you must learn how to resist desolate beasts, how to protect civilians in dangerous times, and protect all the territories of Jiuzhou. Guo Zhenghong looked to be in his 50s, with somewhat messy gray hair, a solemn expression, and a serious demeanor, appearing as a precise and upright person. He directly got to the point as soon as the class started, making it clear about the importance of this course. The 9 elite universities are all located in the 9 key areas on the outermost periphery of the Liangzhou Alliance near the external wilds border. Our Liangzhou University is the same. When the beast tide comes, you, as students of an elite university, need to be on the front lines fighting the desolate beasts. So, no matter what system you have awakened, no matter what level of genius awakener you are, in my eyes it makes no difference. In my class, listen carefully. Study hard the basic measures of Jiuzhou's defense. Whether it's the outer formations, technological defense shields, various tools to defend against desolate beasts, you all need to master them well. I despise students who try to cut corners. If you don't master this class, don't think about graduating. As soon as he started teaching, he gave all the students a tough lesson. No one dared to speak. Facing an SR-level professor, even the SR Awakener students like Long Guoqing were stunned. Before cultivating, SR freshmen were nothing at all, Even an S-level teacher in the Meridian opening stage could intimidate them. Especially those with outstanding talents. I don't care what system talents you have awakened. I only care whether you can resist and kill desolate beasts. In my class, all students will be treated equally. Guo Zhenghong, being a professor-level educator and the captain of the Liangzhou Alliance command team, felt a strong sense of responsibility and had high demands for his students. He glanced over the class, his gaze sweeping past those 3 SR students, particularly warning Long Guoqing. Long Guoqing felt uneasy as he had been proudly talking with several female classmates after class, gathering attention value. When Guo Zhenghong entered, he did not speak to him but fixed him with a pair of cold eyes. The look alone subdued Long Guoqing. In front of this iron-handed professor, Long Guoqing had to reluctantly drop his proud SR demeanor. In terms of system talents, the professor was also an SR not weaker than you. In terms of cultivation, he was far beyond you. Long Guoqing had nothing to be proud of in front of this professor. We need to learn the attack methods of the beast tides and then adjust various defensive abilities to counter them. When a beast tide comes, you all will need to be assigned to various posts, using your capabilities to kill desolate beasts. Professor Guo scanned the entire class, which was silent, possibly because of his compelling SR-level pressure or the sharpness he naturally possessed. No one dared to let their minds wander. The Jiuzhou Alliance's defense class is not just a theory class but also a practical course. I am not only teaching you defensive knowledge but also how to combat desolate beasts. After you've grasped a few theory lessons, we will head to simulation classes, where you will experience various beast tide attacks, learning how to respond, how to protect yourselves and your comrades, and protect all the civilians of Jiuzhou. Professor Guo scanned the classroom, paused, and continued, "Thus, I need a class representative for this course. This person needs to have extremely high talents, strong judgment skills, and a thorough understanding of desolate beasts to assist me in teaching every practical defense class." Selection of the class representative. This matter excited many students. Being the class representative for a course, especially for an SR-level professor's course, was a great honor. Who wouldn't want to converse more with an SR professor? However, the matter of the class representative, while eagerly considered by many, was beyond their capabilities, as someone had already been recommended. "Teacher, I recommend classmate Long Guoqing." Long Guoqing is an SR-level awakener, highly skilled, handsome, and has a commanding presence, fully capable of shouldering this responsibility. A girl at the back gazed at Long Guoqing with starry eyes. Yes, I also recommend Long Guoqing. Being an SR-level awakener, he must be at the mid-stage of Qi controlling by now, with limitless future potential. His fine demeanor is surely enough to shoulder the defenses of Jiuzhou, and killing desolate beasts is definitely no problem. Another girl excitedly chimed in. "I agree with choosing Long Guoqing. Having someone as handsome as him teaching us, we would definitely learn very diligently." Many in the class seemed to agree with Long Guoqing taking on the role of class representative, mostly girls, all looking at Long Guoqing adoringly. He was already recognized as the freshman male idol. Long Guoqing slightly puffed out his chest, basking in the adoration of many. If it really came to a vote, he could definitely win by a large margin. His confidence had been waning these past few days, and now was the moment to regain it. However, Professor Guo coldly snorted and sternly rebuked those girls. "Nonsense! Do you think this is a talent show? Is going into battle based on good looks? Is withstanding beast tides done with that nonsensical fan culture? Can handsome looks really shoulder the defense of Jiuzhou? What kind of twisted logic is that? You all are martial arts students, tasked with the responsibility of guarding the Alliance. Throw away that messy fan culture nonsense. Will desolate beasts spare you because you are handsome? Do they share the same aesthetic as humans? You might look handsome in the eyes of others, but in the eyes of desolate beasts, you are just a monstrosity. My course needs not just pretty boys but iron-blooded men who can protect the nation and kill desolate beasts." Professor Guo's voice was very stern, striking fear into the hearts of those girls eager to nominate the handsome Long Guoqing as the class representative. Causing them to turn pale, shrink their heads, and remain silent. These girls, having just started college, still harbored a youthful, girly heart, where good looks were justice. But presenting such views was harshly criticized by the straightforward-natured Professor Gua. If you guys are so keen on celebrity worship, then the martial arts college is not for you. I suggest you transfer to the liberal arts college. The liberal arts college doesn't oppose the cult of star chasing and even delights in star making. You can chase and fuss over stars as much as you wish there. I don't care. That's your freedom. But if you've chosen the martial path, you'd better start looking the part. Professor Gua didn't let these girls off the hook and gave them a thorough scolding once again. The entire class became aware of this old professor's authority. His directness, his no-nonsense approach, his decisiveness, and his total indifference to young women's charms had already intimidated everyone into silence. Xiang Beifei sat in the last row, pondering as he watched Professor Gua, who seemed to be quite formidable. It appeared very difficult for students to slip through his class without doing the work. But what he said also made sense. The paths of the literary Dao and martial Dao were distinct, and star chasing was accepted in the liberal arts college, after all, with various superstar systems, to spice up everyone's life. But the martial arts college would have to bear the responsibility of defending JoJo in the future. These matters were serious, and certain elements of pop culture could not be allowed to infiltrate. These girls are really foolish. A voice came from beside Xiang Beifei. He turned his head, only then realizing that an unfamiliar classmate was sitting beside him. Host. And Shiyu. SR rank. Myriad music voice system. Realm. Meridian opening middle stage. To his surprise, it was another girl who was calling these girls foolish. An SR? Weren't there just 3 SR-ranked students in their class? And she's a Meridian opening middle stage expert, too. That was strange. Generally, those with SR systems who reached the Meridian opening stage were people who had awakened their systems at least a year ago. A senior student. Why was she sitting in a freshman class? Aren't you a girl too? Xiang Beifei asked, puzzled. I am a martial artist, and I am very clear about my role. And Shiyu replied. She looked like a gentle girl, but when she spoke, there was a hint of anger in her voice. Xiang Beifei sized up and Shiyu's system. This girl had awakened a system related to musical instruments, and she could have become a musician, but for some reason, she had chosen to be a martial artist. Her system also provided various martial abilities. She could control her enemies with the music of her zither, killing people from miles away. Her ability was similar to Li Zimu's poetic kill, grasping the essence of a piece of music and then playing it out, turning the musical essence into the sharpest of attacks. For instance, one of the pieces she had mastered was called Ambush from 10 Sides. When she played this piece, attacks would come from all directions unexpectedly. She could even fight by following the fluctuations of the zither music. You seem very angry, Xiang Beifei noted. Of course, I am angry. These brainless girls think anyone who looks handsome can be a leader. Superficial and foolish. They treat the defiance of beast tides as child's play. Is this how they honor the border guards who sacrifice themselves to defend the alliance against the beast tides? Is this the respect they show to their families and friends? And Shiyu's voice was icy cold. Being a girl herself, she could not condone these freshmen who lacked any martial awareness or sense of duty as defenders. From the way you speak, did you know someone who perished in the fight against the beast tides? Xiang Beifei asked. He was checking in Shiyu's system log and quickly noticed a mission entry that read, play a piece for your departed father on the Guzheng called Eternal Sleep. Emotion level reaching 100%. Guzheng proficiency plus 1956. This system log had been completed 2 days earlier, apparently just before the start of the semester. No wonder this girl was so angry. In the martial arts college, anyone who took the fight against the beast tides lightly was, in her eyes, desecrating the memory of guardians like her father and other martial artists who had died fighting desolate beasts. It's none of your business, and Shiyu said coldly. Xiang Beifei shrugged his shoulders indifferently and moved his attention back to Professor Gua. After a while, and Shiyu spoke again, I know you, you're the freshman Xiang Beifei. Oh. Xiang Beifei replied casually, as there were too many people on campus who knew him already. The professor mentioned you, said your father was a pioneer. And Shiyu remarked. This wasn't really a secret anymore, at least not among many professors at Liangzhou University who knew of Xiang Tianqing. Pioneers have a grand profession. So many pioneers and guardians have sacrificed themselves for human territory. Every pioneer, every guardian, deserves our respect. After saying this, she sat up straight, her eyes filled with reverence when looking at Professor Gua. Pioneers expanded territories while guardians held them. Their responsibilities were equally paramount. Xiang Beifei, with his chin resting on his hand, nodded thoughtfully. He was still contemplating why this seemingly aloof girl was here in this classroom. After a moment, and Shiyu spoke again. My father sacrificed himself at the border during the Great Beast Tide that broke out 6 years ago, right in the territory overseen by Liangzhou University. That's why, after graduating from high school in Qingzhou, I chose to attend Liangzhou University. Her voice was calm as she stated it as if it were a matter of fact, without sorrow or joy, not even blinking an eye. This explanation was evidently for Xiang Beifei's benefit. For some reason, Xiang Beifei thought he heard a different kind of emotion in her voice. She's a very special girl, he thought. I heard from the professor that something happened to your parents, so this is why you became a martial artist, right? And Shiyu didn't look at Xiang Beifei but asked him this question. Carry on your parents' will. What about you? Xiang Beifei didn't answer directly but countered. I'm sitting here. And Shiyu's answer was self-evident, concise and to the point. She should have been a gentle girl. Even her name was so refined, with a unique perception of musical instruments. If she wished, she could totally become a master of music performance, make money in the entertainment industry and become a star with ease. But she chose the martial path without hesitation. Her father had fallen in the defense of Jiuzhou. She was determined to continue the journey her father had not finished. Understood. Xiang Beifei nodded. Such a girl was worthy of respect. Xiang Beifei. However, just at that moment, Professor Guo's voice suddenly rang out. Had he been caught talking during class? Xiang Beifei braced himself and stood up. Talking in Professor Guo's class was not a wise choice. Just now those girls were severely reprimanded. So admitting his mistake seemed the better option. But Professor Guo looked at Xiang Beifei with an expression full of admiration, and said, You will be the class representative for my course. Me? Xiang Beifei raised his head in surprise and looked at Professor Guo. Professor Guo nodded slightly. His gaze softened a lot when he looked at Xiang Beifei, and he said, I've heard about the entrance assessment. I appreciate anyone with the strength to kill a desolate beast. You were able to kill a triangular thunderkite during the chi controlling stage, which is very courageous and worth learning from by everyone. Only those with the strength to slay a desolate beast are qualified to lead others in defending the Alliance's border and resist the beast's tide. Professor Guo had also watched the video of Xiang Beifei killing the triangular thunderkite. Achieving such a level during the chi-controlling stage boded well for his future. He was the sort of person Professor Guo admired. Xiang Beifei hesitated. He didn't really want to be the class representative. It sounded like a hassle. But Professor Guo was so strict and an upright and honest person. Directly refusing seemed rather impolite. The whole class was looking at Xiang Beifei. Everyone was naturally very familiar with him. This so-called invincible N-level body cultivator during the chi-controlling stage being singled out by Professor Guo was unexpected for everyone. They thought that even if Xiang Beifei was invincible at the chi-controlling stage, he was only an N-level awakener, and his achievements could not possibly surpass those of a prodigy like Long Guoqing. Moreover, if a beast tide erupted, it wouldn't just involve a few triangular thunderkites. There would be various desolate beasts equivalent to the meridian opening stage, even the god refining stage, running rampant. How could an N-level body cultivator like him deal with desolate beasts of that caliber? Yet, even though many harbored objections internally, nobody dared to voice it in front of Professor Guo. Having already rebuked the girls, who would dare to provoke his ire? As if perceiving the doubts of others, Professor Guo continued. You might think that body cultivators have limited accomplishments, but before you graduate, it's not too late to reach the level of Xiang Beifei. If you can't do it even with 4 years, then spend these 4 years learning properly from those who can kill desolate beasts. Stop looking down on this and that. Do you have the right to look down upon others? Right now, if I throw you into the outer wilderness, would you survive? If you cannot survive, then keep your arrogance to yourself. Even if you are R grade, S grade, or SR grade, ask yourself if you can defeat a triangular thunderkite first before you talk about looking down on others. Professor Guo was well aware of the students' views on Xiang Beifei. The commotion about the N-level new students' enrollment was big, and there were many negative comments about Xiang Beifei. But Professor Guo only cared whether a student had the ability to handle desolate beasts. At least before university graduation, Xiang Beifei was stronger than most of the students in the class. And now, just less than a week since the beginning of the school year, Xiang Beifei had already surpassed the progress that other students would make in 4 years. In his eyes, he was a straightforward person calling black black and white, and was not at all polite in his speech. On the university forum, when he saw those students disparaging Xiang Beifei every day, a talent who could kill a triangular thunderkite before school had even started, he couldn't hold back any longer and decided to speak his mind bluntly today. The entire class was scolded to the point of being unable to retort. Xiang Beifei was also quite surprised. It was his first time seeing Professor Guo as well, and he had not even fully recognized him yet. He had not expected Professor Guo to speak up for him. The last time someone had stood up for him had been 2 elders. One was Yi Changfeng and the other was Elder Luo. Professor Guo was the third. Having someone defend him felt quite nice. What I need for this course are those capable of slaying desolate beasts, not students who are always trying to show off. Remember that. Professor Guo's voice was resounding and forceful. Long Guoqing felt very uncomfortable being spoken to by Professor Guo. Clearly, the words were meant for him. Yet, he dared not retort against Professor Guo now. The old man was not to be trifled with. It's just a class representative for a defense course. I don't even care for it. Long Guoqing spat out in his heart. Although he thought this, he still felt very unwilling deep down. Just wait. Barring any accidents, I'll reach the Meridian opening stage in a year. A year from now, we'll see the true colors. Then, I'll show you, an N-level body cultivator, what SR-level talent is. Long Guoqing also remembered the sword cultivator who had defeated him that night. And you, if Idle Fish asks me to patrol the mountain, I will definitely defeat you too. Professor Guo ignored the expressions of the other students and said, Xiang Beifei, stay after class. I'd like to discuss some matters regarding the class representative role with you. Please take a seat for now. He waved his hand and then started the lesson. Nobody dared to let their attention wander during Professor Guo's lesson. Under his authority, the classroom even became eerily quiet. After all, he was an SR-level professor, a height many students would never reach in their lifetime. They dared not speak against him. After class, the other students left in 2s and 3s, and soon only Professor Guo, Xiang Beifei, and Enshiyu, who had listened through the entire class from the back row, remained. Xiang Beifei found it strange. He wanted to ask Enshiyu why she was there, but she just sat in her seat, quiet. All he could do was walk toward the lectern. Professor Guo. Xiang Beifei greeted him politely. Professor Guo looked at Xiang Beifei, his usually stern face showing a rare smile. I've heard of your deeds. It's a pity I wasn't there to witness them, he said appreciatively. Heroes are not defined by talent. I don't care whether you are an N-level awakener or not. All I care about is whether you can kill desolate beasts. A man of action. Xiang Beifei respected such people. After thinking for a moment, Xiang Beifei asked, Professor Guo, what exactly does the class representative have to take care of? The class representative's duties are simple. You'll need to learn the functions of the various defense points of the Zhuzhou Alliance, learn about formation, understand various system tools, learn to guard with talismans, and master tactical command. In the upcoming simulation courses, I'll arrange for you to face beast tide attacks from the past several thousand years, and you will need to adapt on the fly, explained Professor Gua as he introduced the responsibilities of the Jojo Alliance Defense Overview Course Representative. Your task is to command your classmates, leading the whole class in resisting those desolate beasts and holding the fort. Hence, before every practical class, you need to understand each student's abilities and utilize everyone's full potential effectively. Then, you'll find time to summarize the experiences from every simulated battle with me, and pass them on to every other student. Simulated beast tide combat, holding the fortresses, this proves quite effective when dealing with actual beast tides, and elite universities must have this awareness. Understanding the abilities of every classmate was not difficult for Xiang Beifei at all. He knew at a glance who excelled at what and how to bring out everyone's strengths fully. But he preferred cultivating alone in peace or following the leisurely king of fish to count ducks. He had no interest in directing others. It sounded very troublesome and a waste of time. He was more accustomed to solving problems with a direct punch. Just charge and it's done. Professor, no offense intended, but I have too much to handle on my own, and I'm worried I won't be able to manage this role. Could we find someone else to be the class representative? Xiang Beifei said earnestly and then assured, but I will definitely study this course seriously. No slacking off. You're busy every day? Professor Gua furrowed his eyebrows. Xiang Beifei indeed had a lot on his plate, with rescheduled classes, commitments to Yi Changfeng to join a combat squad to earn club points, daily training in spiritual power with Elder Luo, and practicing his own cultivation, practicing rapid flame. All sorts of bizarre things seemed to have suddenly made his university life busy. I need to cultivate. Xiang Beifei didn't go into detail. Instead, he said gravely, I'm a body cultivator, and I need to train for 10 hours each day, do 10,000 push-ups with 100 pounds on my back, and then run 30 kilometers, followed by, cut the nonsense. You know best whether you're a body cultivator or not. Don't think I'm unaware that this is fabricated gossip spread by Luo Yunxian to protect you. Isn't it? Professor Gua said without a second thought. Xiang Beifei gave an awkward smile. That trick didn't work on Professor Gua. Those who can be professors at Liangzhou University are indeed no ordinary people. Because even Yu Qixin and Yi Changfeng believed there was a high chance that Xiang Beifei was a body cultivator. They didn't have the keen vision of Professor Gua. However, clearly neither Elder Luo nor Professor Gua thought he was a body cultivator at all. Xiang Beifei said, but I also need to cultivate. I'm used to spending a lot of time every day on cultivating spiritual power. Self-improvement is the most important thing for me. At that moment, and Shiyu, who had been sitting at the back of the classroom, spoke up. You improve yourself to fight against the desolate beasts, don't you? This is the duty of all martial artists, a responsibility we cannot shirk. Isn't learning this course meant to follow your father's path? Each to their own. Xiang Beifei replied simply, studying is just being prudent. If Jojo is in trouble, I can, like everyone else, resist the beast tides. But this does not mean I have to be a pioneer or guardian in the future. But your parents, and Shiyu said, they are them, I am me. Xiang Beifei replied, Shiyu, do not impose your morality. Professor Gua reached out to stop and Shiyu's words. And Shiyu wanted to say more, but Professor Gua spoke, and she respected him greatly. So she did not continue, instead murmuring softly, sorry, Professor. Professor Gua praised Xiang Beifei, saying, following your own path is correct, as is cultivating. I highly respect such students. It's not the excellent people who are frightening, but the fact that you're not only more excellent than others but also work harder than them. Professor Gua had high hopes for Xiang Beifei and paused before adding with a smile. You are truly Xiang Tianxing's son. Is my old man that famous? Xiang Beifei mumbled to himself. It seemed that virtually every experienced teacher knew Xiang Tianxing. It made sense, considering that after his renown, many teachers would look into his background. A memorable student like Xiang Tianxing would certainly stick in people's minds. I don't insist that every student becomes a guardian after graduation, but you all carry a burden. Even if you don't plan to take that path, you should still excel in this course. Though Professor Guo was old-fashioned, he wasn't rigid. His thinking was quite progressive. After a moment, the professor asked again, "Don't you have any time at all each day? What does Luo Yunxian have you doing?" Keeping him company chatting to alleviate boredom. This was the explanation Elder Luo had told Xiang Beifei to give if any teacher asked what they were doing. There was no need to mention cultivation. But Professor Guo suddenly became furious. Keeping him company chatting to alleviate boredom? That damn fool. Is it all right to waste a good seedling like this? He could accept Xiang Beifei choosing his own future, and he could tolerate Xiang Beifei refusing the role of class representative to make time for cultivation, but he would not tolerate Xiang Beifei declining the role just because he was keeping an old man who did nothing all day company. Especially when it was that seed-spitting guy. "Come with me. I'm going to find him." Without another word, Professor Guo stormed out of the classroom, visibly upset. Xiang Beifei was stunned for a moment, wondering if Professor Guo's temper, which seemed quite forthright, had been ignited by his mere words. It wasn't his intention, was it? He quickly followed, worried that a confrontation might arise between the two straightforward professors. And Shiyu, too, walked out through the back door and followed behind Professor Guo, while also giving Xiang Beifei a puzzled glance. "Don't ask me. I don't know what's going on either." Xiang Beifei himself was bewildered. Professor Guo left the teaching building with large strides, heading toward the small woods by the lake, bristling with anger. That was where Professor Luo typically took naps every morning. "Shiyu, you wait outside. Xiang Beifei, come with me." Professor Guo turned around, grabbed Xiang Beifei, then stepped forward, directly crossing the space to arrive beside Elder Luo, who was lying on a lounge chair with a telescope watching sparrows. "Luo Yunxian," Professor Guo yelled. "Why are you yelling so loudly? You crow megaphone. You scared away the sparrows." Elder Luo turned his head and glared at Professor Guo. "You have the nerve to say that. That day, when I was not around, you took the opportunity to accept this student into your sect first, and I didn't even settle scores with you. Now that you have him, is it just to chat with you and relieve your boredom every day? You're wasting your day. Fine, but making a student waste his time too." Professor Guo looked at Elder Luo with a displeased expression, his tone pressing and confrontational, seemingly ready to accuse. College teachers, responsible for nurturing all students, instruct students on general foundational knowledge. But students' aptitudes are uneven, so some teachers take under their wing the students they prefer as disciples, fostering them closely, teaching them their own cultivation techniques, akin to a master-disciple relationship. The systems of cultivation techniques are each person's secret and not everyone can learn them. Only those whose aptitudes meet the conditions are chosen by the teachers. Xiang Beifei was a disciple whom Elder Luo had claimed first. He was currently studying Elder Luo's spiritual power. "He's already under my tutelage now. He is a little white crane of my leisure clouds and wild cranes. What I have him do every day is none of your business. Mind your own. Get lost." Elder Luo retorted defiantly. "Damn it! I won't let you delay the student. With his great potential, he should be learning various skills to counter desolate beasts, not wasting his time on you." Professor Guo, furious, yelled at Elder Luo, then turned to look at Xiang Beifei, his gaze filled with a deadly seriousness that made Xiang Beifei's scalp tingle. "How come the atmosphere feels off? Xiang Beifei, you don't have to listen to him. Just follow me from now on. What leisure clouds and wild cranes? That's just misleading the youth." "Ha!" Xiang Beifei was somewhat confused. "Professor Guo, stay away as far as you can. Daring to snatch my disciple right in front of me. Have you lost your mind? Did you really think I haven't taught him how to cultivate?" Elder Luo stood up, holding the telescope at his waist, like a protective chief of the crane race, aggressively rebuffing Professor Guo, his imposing manner no less than Professor Guo's. "You teach him to cultivate?" Professor Guo, harboring significant resentment towards Elder Luo, turned his head and asked Xiang Beifei, "What have you learned from him?" Before Xiang Beifei could answer, Elder Luo interjected, "He's learning defensibility from me? What about it? You unhappy?" Professor Gua angrily said, "Learning defense from you? Learning spiritual power I could understand, but defense from you? Even if your defense is high, how can you teach that to others?" "He's my disciple, I'll teach whatever I want. Who said I can't teach? Is my defense weaker than yours?" Elder Luo retorted proudly. Professor Gua seemed to be both angry and amused, and he said to Xiang Beifei, "Learning defense, you need a professional teacher. Are you young and your eyes failing already? What can you learn from following him? Forget it, it's normal to be misled if you lack discernment. Let's go. Don't mind him. I'll teach you what true defense is." "Ha!" Xiang Beifei looked at Elder Luo, puzzled. But without further ado, Professor Gua reached out and grabbed the back of Xiang Beifei's collar, dragging him away. In front of such a titan, Xiang Beifei had no power to resist. "I'll tell you, defense skills aren't something anyone can teach. Luo Yunxian's defense only works on himself and can't be taught to others. But I can. What you need is—" Professor Gua had nearly dragged Xiang Beifei out of the grove when he suddenly frowned, glanced at Xiang Beifei again as if he had realized something. Then he dragged Xiang Beifei back angrily. Xiang Beifei, having his collar yanked back and forth by Professor Gua, was utterly confused. "You have a beef with Elder Luo. Go drag him. Luo Yunxian, you've tricked me again." Professor Gua glared at Elder Luo. He had realized, where did Luo Yunxian have the ability to teach Xiang Beifei defense? It was just a provocation. Such a blockhead. Elder Luo chuckled. This strategy never failed. He lay back down on the resting chair asking, "So, will you teach him or not? If not, I'll have him take elective defense courses." "Are those electives of any use to him?" Professor Gua snapped. "His limit is obviously higher than those techniques. Can't you see that? The Defense Ability Specialization elective course was designed to provide students whose systems did not offer defense with a few R-rated or S-rated basic defense skills. However, these techniques were offered by other teachers and belonged to them, not specifically tailored for the students. Since it wasn't their own, the mastery would be limited and the achievements couldn't be too high, but for the students it was better than nothing." Xiang Beifei vaguely understood now. Last time Elder Luo saw that his defensive power was not very strong, but he didn't personally teach him how to defend. Because Elder Luo's leisure system was quite special. His defensive power was directly maximized, simple and crude. He himself could become extremely tough, but it wasn't a technique others could learn. Therefore, he couldn't teach it to Xiang Beifei. At that time, Elder Luo had only said he would figure something out, and now Xiang Beifei realized that Elder Luo's idea of figuring something out was to find him a real defense teacher. It turned out Elder Luo was clever after all, deceiving Professor Gua with just a few provocative remarks. "Useful or not, they're still defense skills," Elder Luo said proudly. "But my defense skills are not for everyone to learn," Professor Gua said coldly. "Can't you see what he's capable of from the videos?" Elder Luo asked complacently. Professor Gua furrowed his brows, pondering. "I understand now." Professor Gua stared at Xiang Beifei, then continued. "So it turns out, he's not an N-rated awakener, is he? Is he or isn't he? None of your business. I won't tell you. I hope it kills you." Elder Luo himself didn't know either. He hadn't asked Xiang Beifei these things, as there was no need to inquire too deeply. Such a student's system talents were secondary. It was best not to let too many people know, to prevent unwanted attention. Professor Gua apparently understood this and tactfully did not inquire further, instead saying, "If I teach him, then he is my student. Go dream. He is my student. You can teach him or leave. I'll just have him learn the R-rated defense skills. I don't need your measly defensive power." Elder Luo cursed. "You scoundrel!" Professor Gua looked very annoyed, but he seemed very reluctant to give up on teaching Xiang Beifei. As a professor with great responsibility, he didn't want to see a promising student like Xiang Beifei wasted by this idle fellow. For him, as long as there was a student who wanted to learn his defense skills, he would sparingly guide them, never hiding his secrets. However, the problem was also clear. His defense skills were indeed powerful, but too esoteric. After all, they were SR rated, and generally those rated R and S couldn't learn it, not even the SR sometimes. So even though he had the intention, he was powerless. Otherwise, he would certainly teach more students, giving them the ability to defend themselves and then fight against desolate beasts, defending the frontiers, becoming pillars of the Jojo Alliance. This was his philosophy of teaching. He hoped that every student could succeed, especially someone like Xiang Beifei, who had managed to pin down a triangular thunder kite before even entering school. He was eager to teach him his defensive abilities. But Elder Luo was blocking him, which was quite uncomfortable. "Are you sure he can master it?" Professor Gua asked. "The guy is right here, don't you see?" Elder Luo said impatiently. Professor Gua released Xiang Beifei's collar and then told Xiang Beifei, "Your lousy master tricked me. I was very angry, but I really can't stand to see your future wasted by this scoundrel. I've decided to try teaching you, but my defense techniques are quite special. I need to test whether you can learn them or not." Xiang Beifei inquiringly glanced at Elder Luo and noticed that Elder Luo winked at him. Elder Luo understood Professor Gua too well, knowing the temperament of his old friend who would impart all his knowledge to any student, as long as they could become elites that bravely fought desolate beasts and defended the Jojo Alliance. He would set aside any prejudices. Even though he disapproved of idlers like Elder Luo, and even though a promising seedling like Xiang Beifei had been snatched away by Elder Luo first, Professor Gua was still willing to give Xiang Beifei a chance. Xiang Beifei held deep respect for Professor Gua. This selfless university professor was much better than the narrow-minded Yu Qixin. "Then what should I do?" Xiang Beifei asked. "Hit me. Use your spiritual power to hit me." "Eh? Don't worry. It's fine if bones break. I have healing abilities." "What?" Xiang Beifei didn't quite understand what this meant. Is it he who breaks, or is it me? The other party is at least of SR rank, so they shouldn't be so fragile, so it must be me, right? "Hit me. With all your might. However you want." Professor Gua didn't give a further explanation, but urged him on. Xiang Beifei had no choice but to comply. He looked seriously at Professor Gua, knowing that with his own late-stage chi-controlling abilities, he definitely couldn't hurt Professor Gua, so there was no need to hold back. Fierce flames suddenly lit up on Xiang Beifei's fist, circulating around his arm, the powerful spiritual power forming a violent gust. His eyes flashed with a sharp light, and then he threw a punch towards Professor Gua's chest. Professor Gua didn't move, just thoughtfully watching Xiang Beifei's fist, letting it hit his body. Boom! Xiang Beifei's fist, like a small mountain, smashed explosively onto Professor Gua's body. But Professor Gua's defense was too strong. Xiang Beifei felt as if he had hit a steel wall. The flames on his fist immediately started spinning, trying to use the circulation of spiritual power to dismantle the opponent's defense. But at that moment, Xiang Beifei's expression slightly changed, because he felt a terrifying force from Professor Gua's body connecting to his spiritual power, which then flowed back in the manner of his spiritual power circulation, vibrating up his arm from his fist. What the hell? Xiang Beifei was shocked in his mind. He knew that if this force shook even slightly, his arm might suffer a comminuted fracture. But he didn't panic. At this critical moment, he quickly analyzed the rebound force from Professor Gua and once again spurred his spiritual power, quietly operating the cultivation technique he had been practicing, rapidly linking to Professor Gua's rebound force and forcibly diverting it away. Swish! The rebound force was drawn outside by Xiang Beifei's arm. This force was so powerful that it shattered the sleeves of his arm, but still continued along his arm to his body, shredding his clothes to rags. So strong! Xiang Beifei stepped back 2 paces, looking at his clothes in astonishment, now tattered and torn into strips by the rebound force. However, Professor Gua's eyes lit up. "Your arm isn't broken?" Xiang Beifei shook his right hand and clenched his fist again, rubbing it twice, and spoke gravely. That was close, very dangerous. It was his first time encountering such a strange rebound force. It seemed more like the effect of his own spiritual power that increased in intensity after Professor Gua amplified it, at least 3 to 4 times before bouncing back. If Xiang Beifei's control over spiritual power wasn't as agile, His arm might indeed have suffered a comminuted fracture, Professor Guo exclaimed. Never has there been a practitioner at the late stage of qi controlling who could act against me and not fracture an arm. You are the first. But soon, he gasped in shock, looking at Xiang Beifei. Wait, how come your cultivation is at the late stage of qi controlling? Didn't they say you were only at the middle stage? Ha ha ha. What about that? You still want to snatch such a disciple? Keep dreaming. Elder Luo was smugly pleased. In fact, when he heard the news 2 days earlier, Elder Luo was also shocked, no less so than Professor Guo, but now he was delighted. What's going on? Hasn't he only awakened the system for less than 4 months? He's already at the late stage of qi controlling. Professor Guo murmured to himself. The students who awakened to the system in the same period, even those of SR rank, were only at the middle stage of qi controlling now, and those contemporary awakeners at the late stage of qi controlling, their system talent has to be SSR? It's SSR. Professor Guo looked at Xiang Beifei incredulously. This year at Liangzhou University, not a single SSR awakener was among the new students. 2 SSR candidates who disdained Liangzhou University for accepting an N rank like Xiang Beifei, deemed it self-degrading, were persuaded by other schools to change their minds and enrolled elsewhere, leading to only SR awakeners as the highest in the new students. Because of this, many people within the school's upper echelons had a very low opinion of this N-rank new student, Xiang Beifei. But to everyone's surprise, this so-called N-rank new student, Xiang Beifei, had already reached the late stage of qi controlling. Except for an SSR talent in body cultivation, who else could reach such a level? Elder Luo warned Professor Guo with a watchful gaze. Hey, Guo Zhenghong, you should understand what I'm trying to say. Some things are best kept to oneself. Professor Guo came back to his senses, his expression turning serious, and said, You don't need to tell me that. Glad you understand. Just don't leak it out later. I'm really pissed with those ignorant heads at the school. If I hadn't retired and didn't want to deal with Liangzhou University's crappy issues, would it ever be their turn, a bunch of fools, to manage? Chao Pei, that kid, is the university president, and it's fine that he's a literary Taoist. After all, he manages both the martial arts college and the liberal arts college. But it's outrageous that our martial arts college is also being managed by a literary Taoist. Something's seriously wrong with their brains. Elder Luo was adamantly opposed. Take Wei Tong, the newly appointed dean of the martial arts college this year. He's from the liberal arts college. Does he even know the different types of desolate beasts? Does he understand how pioneers fight? He knows nothing and still dares to be the dean of the martial arts college. Does he think speaking with conviction gives him the power to persuade? Can he just talk his way through it? Elder Luo was extremely dissatisfied with the current management at Liangzhou University. The separation of literary Tao and martial Tao was intended to cultivate students in different directions for better management. Yet this year, the new dean of the martial arts college turns out to be a literary Taoist. He can't fight, can't brawl, just because he's an SSR-level management talent. And so, he took office. Awakeners who manage types of systems indeed have a knack for managing students' daily lives, but it's only natural that the martial arts college should be managed by martial Taoists. Martial Taoists have a deeper understanding of desolate beasts, not those literary Taoists who are clueless about them. Unfortunately, in a system world, SSR-tier awakeners hold an extremely revered status. They rapidly improve their cultivation and attain high realms. They end up holding various important positions, even in areas they're unfamiliar with. No one really cares if they are suitable for the job or not. It's quite sad. You're right. I missed the days when you were the dean of the martial arts college. At least then the college looked like something. If you hadn't been so impulsive and resigned over that incident, you might have been the university president by now. Professor Guo rarely spoke well of Elder Luo. I don't like to be pushed around, huffed Elder Luo. But you didn't leave Liangzhou University, Professor Guo said. If I had left, Liangzhou University would have been completely ruined. In recent years, there hasn't been a major beast tide, and look how complacent they've all become, comfortable in their safety, yet failing to foresee danger. Focused only on appearances, They scramble to recruit high-level SSR Awakeners every year, completely ignoring truly talented kids as if they're blind. Elder Luo always got pissed off thinking about these things, and he continued, elite universities should focus on cultivating martial Taoists, and then look at the mess of people managing them. If a beast tide attacked, do you really expect this group of administrators, who are only good at running their mouths, to go to the battlefield and resist? They have the ability to rally others with their system capabilities, but what then? Motivate these kids for a moment and then, with their blood boiling, send them to the battlefield as cannon fodder? Do they even understand what it means to combat desolate beasts? Do they understand tactical cooperation? Because of the incident involving Xiang Beifei's admission, Elder Luo had a very unpleasant confrontation with the other leaders of Liangzhou University, and he directly flipped the table as a warning. The school leaders didn't dare to provoke him. Even SSR Tier President Chao Pei had to give him a wide berth. Despite being an SSR, he was a literary Taoist, not enough to withstand a single punch from the SR-ranking Elder Luo. That's why Xiang Beifei hadn't been targeted recently. Those people only look at the surface of things, completely clueless about the value of gold obscured by dust. Anyway, everyone now thinks Xiang Beifei is an N-tier awakener, so let them keep thinking that. We'll cultivate our way, they can manage theirs. If they dare meddle with my business, I'll be the first to smack them. Elder Luo was always straightforward in his actions. Despite his usual appearance of being as idle as a fish, when his temper flared, he was extremely frightening. Professor Guo spoke earnestly. Don't worry. I can still prioritize our issues. I understand what you mean. He eagerly added. With a talent like Xiang Beifei, if we carve him together, one day we'll throw it back in their faces. Although Professor Guo and Elder Luo were old adversaries, they obviously shared many of the same principles. You can participate in the refining process, but remember he's my disciple, Elder Luo warned. His talent is so great, and it's not your doing. What are you so proud of? But I found a treasure. Envious, aren't you? Just thinking about this made Elder Luo happy again, as if the school administration's troubles were no longer an issue, and he chuckled gleefully. Slapping his thigh with regret, Professor Guo was very annoyed. Damn it! Why wasn't I at the school that day? To let a student like this be snatched away by a bastard like you. Professor Guo was furious inside. If he had been at the school on the day of the entrance assessment, he would have fought with Elder Luo in a heated exchange, battled him for 300 rounds, cursed him to the heavens, and then forcefully taken the student Xiang Beifei for himself. But Professor Guo furrowed his brow and asked, if Xiang Beifei is SSR class, why was he treated as N class? That's none of your business, Elder Luo said. Yet Professor Guo seemed to have thought of something. He is the son of Tianqing. Could it be that Tianqing arranged for his high school principal to tamper with the Leisure Stone, to provide cover? I understand now. Good that you understand, Elder Luo said seriously for once. He must have known that his son would attract attention in high school. Being N-class would offer great protection, so he had that principal called Li Nanqing to help with the disguise. But after coming to Liangzhou University, with our help in looking after him, there's no need to worry. That's right, that Tianqing lad has always been crafty. Damn it, he even calculated us into his plans. Professor Guo said solemnly in agreement. Xiang Beifei looked at the two men with a puzzled expression on his face. Huh? It seemed he didn't even need to make up any reasons. Professor Guo and Elder Luo were already making up one for him, and discussing it as if it were a matter of fact. Truth be told, having such an ingenious father he'd never met was rather convenient. But the two elders were not wrong about one thing, because after his awakening system activated, he indeed became a target for those with intentions. This person with intentions was even posing as a teacher at Liangzhou University. Sadly, he had no evidence to confront Su Yang. However, Xiang Beifei was still pondering the strange force from Professor Guo just now, so he wasn't in the mood to care about the elders' discussion. After a while, he finally asked, Professor Guo, what was with that rebounding force just now? Why was it so strong? Only then did Professor Guo snap back to reality and said, Oh right, I almost forgot. The rebounding force. Looking at Xiang Beifei with amazement, he said, Elder Luo was right. You do qualify to learn my defense abilities. So I've passed the professor's test? Xiang Beifei asked. Professor Guo said excitedly, Passed. Anyone who's in the chi controlling or meridian opening stages and doesn't break an arm punching me is qualified to learn my defense skills. I don't quite understand. The strongest defense is a counterattack, Professor Guo explained. I have a very strong defensive ability because I can use my spiritual power in a very clever way to cover my body's surface. And anyone who attacks me will be repelled by my spiritual power, with the rebound force being approximately 3 to several hundred times the strength of the attack, depending on the difference in cultivation. That's strong. Xiang Beifei drew in a breath of cold air, making his contribution to warming Jizhou. Being able to repel someone's attack on oneself through defense and rebound it 3 to several hundred times stronger. He looked at Professor Guo's SR counterattack system with astonishment. Although he couldn't see the specific details of the system, he had a rough idea that this person was relying on special spiritual power to form a defense on the surface, which would directly counterattack upon being hit. Then how is this counterattack force determined? By one's own control or? It's related to your spiritual power and level of cultivation. The higher your strength, the stronger the rebound force. The higher the opponent's strength, the weaker the rebound force, so it depends on the difference between you and your opponent. The specifics need to be addressed on a case-by-case basis, but it's definitely a very powerful means of counteraction. Just now, I already had maximized the defense to the late stages of chi controlling. Normally speaking, when someone at the chi controlling stage hits me with a punch, they should endure about 10 times the recoil force. This force is enough to cause a comminutive fracture in your arm, but you seem to have redirected the force, only bearing less than 3 times, even less. Professor Guo said, puzzled. The 3 times the recoil force wasn't enough to fracture the arm. I redirected the recoil force. Look, my clothes are shattered. Xiang Beifei's shirt had been shredded to strips, and he was quite helpless about it. Professor Guo smiled and said, So that's how it is. No wonder. You should be able to precisely calculate the operation of spiritual power with excellent judgment and reaction ability. Only a person like this is qualified to learn my defense skills. After nodding in satisfaction, he then exclaimed, Over the years, only 4 students have been able to learn this method of utilizing spiritual power from me. You are the 5th, but they didn't grasp the essence, and even after completing their training, the force of their counters is not even 1 time. It's just attack for attack, unable to double it like me. The same is true for the SSR tier awakeners. Even SSR tier awakeners can't learn it? Yes, they have high talent but are only suited for learning the cultivation techniques of their own systems. Not all systems of SSR awakeners are comprehensive. Many of them also lack defensive power, so I teach them this, but many SSRs can't even begin. At this point, Professor Guo was quite helpless, and after a moment, he looked at Xiang Beifei expectantly. As for how well you can grasp it, that depends on your own comprehension. I understand. I will diligently practice, Xiang Beifei said earnestly. Professor Guo nodded slightly and then said, Good. I'll teach you how to cultivate. This technique is called counter-deflection. Just do your best and don't be too hard on yourself. It's very difficult to learn. I must make this clear to you, so don't be discouraged by failing 10 times or 100 times. It's not as easily mastered as the techniques provided by your own system. Professor Guo emphasized again. He was very willing to teach his skills to his students, but unfortunately, the techniques provided by the students' own systems limited their accomplishments. Elder Luo chuckled beside them. How hard can it be to learn? Last time he taught Xiang Beifei spiritual power, he had told Xiang Beifei the same thing, explaining how difficult it was to master spiritual power. Then Xiang Beifei learned it pleasantly. But Professor Guo didn't know this and retorted Luo. It's the kind of difficult that you can't learn. Clearly, Professor Guo also wanted to teach Luo, but Luo relied on leveling up his defense and was too lazy to learn. To master counter-deflection, you need to consolidate spiritual power around yourself and then discern the characteristics of your opponent's spiritual power. You should understand that whoever attacks you uses spiritual power, but each person's method of operating spiritual power is different. Thus, you can't wait until after they have hit you to distinguish it. By then it would be too late. You must begin to analyze it the instant they make their move. Analyze the opponent's spiritual power the moment they make their move. Xiang Beifei remembered the key point. The essence of counter-deflection lies in the use of spiritual power. Once you have fully analyzed your opponent's method of operating spiritual power, you can use your own spiritual power to mimic it. Why does someone else's spiritual power hurt you? It's because the spiritual powers of different people are distinct, and they produce a repelling force. But when your spiritual power mimics your opponent's, their spiritual power will treat you as one of their own and will not harm you. Xiang Beifei suddenly realized and said, "Oh, so as long as the imitation is right and you guide it a bit, you can redirect the opponent's attack back at them. But this guiding process requires mixing your own spiritual power to ensure it's distinct from the opponent's?" Professor Guo paused, then turned his head, looking suspiciously at Luo. "Hey Luo, did you teach him these theories?" "Teach my ass. He figured it out himself," Luo muttered. "You figured this out yourself?" Professor Guo was quite surprised. "Isn't that normal?" Xiang Beifei asked. Professor Guo looked amazed but still said, "Okay, let's not dwell on this for now. Theory and practice are different, and the process of imitation has its special techniques. So my counter-deflection is about teaching you how to disguise your own spiritual power, so it won't be repelled by an opponent's spiritual power." Professor Guo taught patiently, detailing all the key points to Xiang Beifei. His cultivation technique was very peculiar. During operation, the spiritual power would momentarily change, making it look identical to Xiang Beifei's, indistinguishable whether the spiritual power was his own or Xiang Beifei's. This method truly opened Xiang Beifei's eyes. Of course, counter-deflection not only could mimic the aura of someone else's spiritual power, but could also directly copy various forces, allowing even a small stone thrown at him to be deflected back along its original path. Professor Guo spent an hour teaching Xiang Beifei all he could. Then he said, "You have learned my defense techniques, and in exchange, you cannot refuse the matter of being the class representative. Learning how to command battles is very important. From your fight with the triangular thunderkrites, I see you have great analytical ability. Because you were injured and it said you killed 2 triangular thunderkrites, you must have adjusted swiftly during those instances. This strong analytical ability is precisely what's needed to command battles when beast tides approach." Professor Guo's insight was comparable to Elder Luo's, just a single video, and both of them saw much the same thing, which was far more perceptive than other teachers. Okay then. Although it sounded troublesome, it was inappropriate for Xiang Beifei to refuse again. Fortunately, Professor Guo was very understanding and said, "I know you just started and need a lot of time to cultivate, so I will have Enshiyu assist you. She will take you through the class representative duties." Professor Guo remembered that Enshiyu was still waiting outside the grove, and then took Xiang Beifei out to introduce him to Enshiyu. "This is Enshiyu, one of my most accomplished students, and one of the few who can learn my defensive skills. Hello, my name is Xiang Beifei." Xiang Beifei nodded politely. "I know who you are," Enshiyu said. Xiang Beifei shrugged his shoulders. "Shiyu, I originally planned to make Xiang Beifei the class representative. He needs some time to cultivate my counterblade, but for now, you can help him prepare for the defense simulation class." And Shiyu was slightly surprised. "Professor, you taught him the defense skills? But I thought he was already Professor Luo's disciple." "I compromised with him," Professor Guo sighed. "I couldn't bear to see such a good talent go to waste. Xiang Beifei is very skilled at killing desolate beasts, and I need him to learn how to protect himself." After a moment, Professor Guo added meaningfully, "The most important thing is, he hasn't fractured." "Hasn't fractured?" And Shiyu then looked at Xiang Beifei with a serious expression, quite astonished. "When Shiyu punched me once, her bones were displaced, but only slightly cracked. She also controls her spiritual power quite well, which is sufficient for cultivating my defense skills," Professor Guo explained. "I see," Xiang Beifei nodded. "Please teach me a lot." You two go ahead and talk. I've got other things to attend to. Shiyu has a solid grasp of Zhuzhou's frontline defense, so exchange some insights. If you have any questions, come and ask me later. Professor Guo quickly left. Only Shiyu and Xiang Beifei were left by the roadside. And Shiyu did not speak immediately, and Xiang Beifei seemed to have nothing to say either. The two of them just stood there. The atmosphere was somewhat stifled. Do you have any questions? And Shiyu broke the silence. Xiang Beifei thought for a moment and said, I don't know what the class representative is supposed to do. I'll teach you. I'm Professor Guo's teaching assistant. And Shiyu said, a teaching assistant helps professors with grading assignments or teaching. They are usually graduate students who stay on at the university. These graduate students were very excellent and aiming to be university professors someday. Yi Changfeng and Yu Qixin both started as teaching assistants and became lecturers. Yu Qixin was now an associate professor. I thought you just enrolled last year, and you're already a teaching assistant after just 1 year of study? Xiang Beifei expressed his surprise, and Shiyu furrowed her brow slightly. We just met, and I haven't mentioned to you that I enrolled last year. Xiang Beifei said calmly. There are only a few SRs at Liangzhou University. And Shiyu nodded thoughtfully, seemingly accepting Xiang Beifei's point. Indeed, from her enrollment until now, wherever she went, she attracted attention, and being widely recognized was merely typical. I've met the graduation requirements. Other elective courses that are useless to me can be exempted, as long as I confirm them, but I must continue to study for 2 more years, doing some research, she said. In fact, she had no intention of leaving this place. Her father had sacrificed himself at the border of Liangzhou University, and she would also choose to put down roots here. So that's how it is. Xiang Beifei nodded. The elective courses offered by the university are designed to help students compensate for their deficiencies or to assist different types of students in better completing system tasks. So they need to earn enough credits to meet graduation requirements. But as an SR rank, and Shiyu had already met the criteria in both credits and cultivation. Her system being advanced, she could apply to skip those useless courses and just needed to seriously follow the teachers for 2 more years. You can come to me if you have questions. This is my contact information. And Shiyu took out her phone and gave her number to Xiang Beifei, then without further ado, turned around to leave. However, after taking a couple of steps, she stopped and said, Professor Guo is an upright person. He has dedicated his life to the guardian role. When he was a child, a beast tide broke through Zhuzhou's defenses, taking all his loved ones. So he swore to defend the borders of Zhuzhou, protecting its people to the best of his abilities. He holds in high regard anyone who can kill desolate beasts and contribute to the defense of Zhuzhou's borders. I understand, Xiang Beifei replied. Since you don't intend to follow the path of a guardian or become a pioneer, why do you seek his trust to learn the defense skills from him? You think I'm deceiving him? I just don't want such a respected elder to be deceived. I won't allow anyone to deceive such a person. And Shiyu turned her head, her gaze filled with a hint of chill. No one should resort to trickery to deceive an elder who has dedicated his life to being a guardian. Xiang Beifei responded, If you know Professor Guo so well, you should understand that deceiving him isn't that simple. You're wrong, he's too straightforward, believing that every martial practitioner would stand out during a beast tide, responding to the Alliance's call to defend their homes, fighting bloodily against desolate beasts, and shedding their blood for the future of humanity. And Shiyu spoke softly, but in reality, it isn't so. In this world, selfish people always outnumber those who rush to the forefront. Those who talk big always outnumber those who act. What's ironic is, her voice carried a tinge of scorn yet seemed to be mocking herself. Those in power often rise through empty talk and high-talent systems, while those who truly do real work are merely at their beck and call. She looked at Xiang Beifei again, especially the students from elite universities. If you think each one of them is a heroic man of iron, then you're mistaken. It's because the students of elite universities have powerful systems and are too smart. With the system's help, they know how to gauge the situation, knowing how to pursue gain and avoid harm. So when the beast tide really erupts threatening our lands of Zhuzhou, very few will volunteer to step forward. And Shiyu's expression was calm, yet her eyes held anger, helplessness, and sorrow. In everyday life, there are many who are keen to dictate how things should be handled. In times of crisis, the number who truly make sacrifices is far fewer. If a beast tide erupts, even if those leaders have the ability to mobilize, their influence is time-bound. Maybe they can inspire students to fight with fervor at first, but as the battle lengthens, that influence will wane, and the smarter students will begin to think about how to preserve their own lives. Many elite students are not going to rush headlong into danger, becoming expendable soldiers in a wasteland beyond the borders. Xiang Beifei couldn't help but recall what Uncle Lu had said to him before he had entered Liangzhou University, which seemed to resonate with what Shiyu was conveying. Xiang Beifei inquired, "From your tone, has someone deceived Professor Guo before?" Over the years, more than one student has tried to gain favors from Professor Guo through flattering words, and what's unforgivable is that some have even targeted Professor Guo as a way to complete their system tasks. And Shiyu said gravely. Xiang Beifei wondered, "Professor Guo is an SR. With such high cultivation, it can't be easy to target him for tasks. SR Awakeners dominate many students. Professor Guo has taught for many years. His students are not only R rank and S rank, but also SSR rank, even UR rank Awakeners." And Shiyu spoke slowly,